Hey, welcome everyone to the Fated Connections Path of Exile community podcast. This is episode number 79. We're about 7 weeks into 3.18. A lot of people have already completed a large part of the challenges and are looking to greener pastures. There is the Gauntlet event coming up soon. We played Badger's Private League about a week ago, and there's tons of things that we want to discuss. There's obviously news of the Timeless Jewels having been cracked. There's the news that Bex teased on Reddit that there's some things happening to harvest. And of course, we also have all the beautiful experiences with Arch Nemesis and the league mechanic that we want to talk about. And in order to talk about that, Balor and I are joined today by mbXtreme and Palsteron. Welcome, guys, to the podcast. How have you been? MB, just take the wheel and let us know how you feel about everything.
First thing that I noticed, first of all, hello. And when I shake my hand really fast and it disappears, my fingers are gone. That's actually insane.
Trippy.
Everything is quite fine, I would say. And while doing trash talk, I forgot what the question was.
How are you doing? I think.
How are you doing? Just just the general small talk intro. Really, don't give away any of the juicy information. We save that for later in the podcast, so the people stay watching.
I feel great. It's a very sunny weather outside. There is no clouds, which also helps my mood being on the top. And today, after the podcast, I'm going to go play mini golf, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to this talk over here.
Mini golf?
Yeah.
That's all the fun parts of golf and none of the shit parts.
Exactly.
Wait, which are the fun parts and which are the shit parts? You mean walking around is shit?
Yeah. Yeah. It's golf is a lot of walking. Mini golf is the fun bit where you don't need that much skill. And you don't have to do all the walking. It's great. Mini golf, fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can share as of right now.
Yeah, you're legally not allowed to share more than that, because while we're happy to welcome back mbXtreme here as a Fated Connections veteran, we have a face on here who hasn't been here yet, and we want to give Palsteron a chance to introduce himself. Welcome, Pal. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. I've been grinding all league. Currently doing a dexterity stacker ballista build. Just chilling. We're gonna see how it goes. Gonna do some boss challenges, stuff like that. Should I introduce myself first?
Oh yeah, feel free to say whatever you want the people to know about yourself.
I'm Palsteron. I make content for I think now almost a year, and just playing the game, doing build guides, all the good stuff.
So you're still feeling like a little bit of a new kid on the block, or you feel like you fully arrived in the PoE community?
It's weird because I'm playing the game since 2014, so I've been playing forever. It's just that I haven't been doing content. I've always been kind of watching from the sidelines, but yeah, I was always super into the game. But yeah, it feels weird for sure at the start. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, this guy probably plays since 2019 or whatever. He doesn't know how it was back then. Veterans telling me how to do it, and I'm just like, what the fuck, bro? I don't know.
That must feel weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, new to making content, not the video game.
Yep.
Now that we're already talking builds, deck stacking, what are you up to, mbXtreme? Any current projects?
I do work on my last build of the league because I'm pretty much done. I was grinding the first month. I think I haven't even skipped a single stream in the first 31 days. So I was really blasting every single day. I ran thousands of maps. I killed over 1,000 Uber bosses and stuff, and now I reached a point where I'm my challenges are done, let's try out one last fancy build. And I decided to play some cock. Custom crit Ice Nova Frostbolt Occultist.
There we go.
And it's with the current state of the how you say the league, it's very hard to find specific items. I tried to get some decent cock rings, but I just couldn't get some decent ones. So I bought just anything that's on the market right now. And the build turns out pretty okay. But I think for the current investment, it's just not the way I would expect it to be, right? So yeah, just an end league project where just put in every single chaos orb that you find on the ground, right? And just try to develop it as good as possible with like all the kind of things like melding the flash and maybe a mage blood and stuff like that. But overall, I enjoyed the league more when I did not allow myself to use a mage blood, which was like pretty much for the first month of the league, right?
Yeah.
It's like just toggling along and probably do a video about it, but not really too much interested in grinding anymore. I've done the grind already, but I'm looking forward to next league as always.
I can relate to that. I mean, I'm nowhere near done with the grind, but like I recently bought a headhunter, and it's contributed to burnout more than it has to game fun, I think. It's just that, it's that point that where you reach that goal and then it just everything plateaus. And as someone coming from HCSSF who like pretty much enjoys having to be on their tiptoe in every single gameplay moment and having to focus, it's just completely different now, and I'm struggling to enjoy the game. But
You want to know the trick?
oh, what is the trick? Let me know.
Have more than one goal.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean,
You got to know what to do with the headhunter next, and then after that, you already got to have something else in mind, right?
Will
What do you do?
Will you
fair.
let me prepare you 24 maps and sextants and scarabs and do proper double juice stuff just for like one set of maps? Because I think you'll have a lot more fun with a headhunter on if you actually roll and juice according to our headhunter. Whereas you've just like slapped one on and you just throwing in any scarabs that you want. But I watched it for a little bit and I was like, man, that looks boring. It could be so much more fun.
you just watched me today. Today I just like was doing whatever. I did do some proper invested
like rolling
stuff.
maps for Beyond, having a Beyond sextant.
I can't do it. Like I'll just die all the time. Like the build is not strong enough at this point. Like it's
Nah,
pretty much
you were a
carried by
headhunter.
You can't
You were a
die.
headhunter.
Literally
You
can't
cannot
die.
Oh, I can't die all the time. I die into 14 maps. So
No. When you roll maps like I'm going to give you, you cannot die.
I've
That's
done
like
some Beyond maps on the Summoner, which is significantly more tanky than the Headhunter build, and that one died as well. So
Like the
Nothing's
big
more
issue-
tankier than headhunter. No,
When
I don't think so.
When I say you can't die, what I mean is my double Beyond MF farmer is in full MF gear with 2.8k life, no suppression, no block, no max res, no recovery of any kind except life gain on hit.
and I'm
And
pretty
I
sure you
can
can
get-
easily die if you don't kill things
And-
fast enough.
I can get up and go out to the bathroom and pee. And as long as I'm back in 45 seconds in the middle of a screen full of mobs, I will have not taken damage. When I mean immortal, I mean you cannot die because of the headhunter once you juice enough. I mean you cannot die.
But this is exactly where I see it's like a major problem in the current meta and the current farming. Like if I think back on like the magic finders, right? They used to run like tier 3 barrel chambers from the people that are knowing that kind of league, right? Where we just like had like our Shaper, Elder, Atlas, Ping Pong and stuff like that. If you had like a really good character, like higher investment, talking about like over 100x or something, you could like farm like tier 8 yellow barrel chambers. But back in the days, like a tier 16 as a magic finder is just not profitable because you need forever and you're probably going to die like I don't know how many times. And in the
It was
current
good in a
state,
party, right? You would have
but
two
I don't
or three
do-
supports with you, and then you would do tier 16s as MF.
yeah, maybe, but I don't play group play, so I don't have the experience to share with that. It's just like as a solo perspective, right? As of comparing it to the nowadays headhunter that got buffed, with a 60 seconds buff duration, I see people with complete magic find gear, with Ventur's Gamble, like all the magic find stuff, running 100% deli maps, fully juiced, and
That's me.
yeah, and this is like something. I mean, you always had like your headhunter on your magic finder just to speed up the process, right? But I don't know, like it just doesn't feel right that a build that is solely relying on not getting hit, basically, which has no defense layers, which has nothing but quantity and rarity, can do 100% deli map, which I consider the hardest content in the game, basically, right? And I think that's like something that I do not like to see after this. Like once the new league goes live and the patch notes and stuff, I would like to have some changes there.
They essentially just way overbuffed the headhunter. It's insane. It makes you immortal, completely immortal. As long as
they
you
were panicking.
actually roll your maps.
I think they were just panicking. They didn't know how to fix it, and they just slapped on something, and they hoped it worked. Pretty much. Yeah.
And now everybody has like free temp chains, headhunter builds that are a thing from the past, basically, with stacking like temp chains, curse effect, and whatnot to make your buffs last that long. And now you just slap on a headhunter and you get a free temp chain setup as well, right? And this has to be proven to be one of the craziest mapping builds. So of course it works, but as Palsteron says, I think they just didn't know how to fix it as of the current state. And yeah, I hope to see still some changes.
But for Catmaster, I will prepare the set of maps. I'll do and roll everything. If you want to run them before you quit and to burn out for running the super juice maps, I'd like you to at least have run just like a few sets of like proper degenerate softcore rolling of maps. Like I'll prepare them all. I already am used to running like 100% delirious maps a day. Like I can just roll you like 20 maps. And give you all the things for it. I've probably got to
run 20 maps. Honestly, I'm at that point where I'm like, I don't even want to run 10 maps. Like, I just want to quit and start an HCSSF again.
All right,
and practice the game.
Two sets of sextant uses.
But on the other hand, I kind of want to also complete some challenges because that was the original goal when I set out to play SC Trade this league. So I might go for it. You know, I can't say never. Considering that you're saying that you can't die, you already died like 3. It's probably a different character, right?
Oh yeah, so
already died 3 times in this mod.
Here's the fun thing. You're playing softcore trade, doing juiced up stuff with a headhunter.
All right, you re-rolled an SSF now. Yeah.
Have restarted in solo self-found with a super off-meta build that has to collect a bunch of unique items that I don't even know how to do because I live in softcore trade. Like I just pick everything up off trade. I'm IDing items off the floor. They're all worthless, by the way, even in solo self-found. I'm going to turn off all rares pretty soon. 3 days I haven't found a single upgrade off the floor and I've been picking up everything.
But you find good recombinator bases on like I'd at least pick up amulets for +1s and stuff like that for random recombinator stuff.
But it's so much easier to craft a +1 amulet than it is to pick one up.
From Harvest or what? Like with a create jewelry from armor or weapon?
Yeah, you craft a +1 weapon with the vendor recipe and you take it into Harvest and you make a similar amulet. It's so much easier.
Or, I have a good idea, man. How about everybody plays PoE the way he wants to? Because as of right now, Balor tries to force Catmaster into softcore full delirium.
That's fair because, wait. But Balor used to be an HCSSF or at least an HC player before. And when we were talking in chat before I started, like before Balor switched to softcore, he was hardcore only. And his aura bot or party mate or friend, Blakey, did say that Balor also didn't used to enjoy super juiced content. So, you know, maybe I just need to experience what Balor experienced and I'll become Balor, basically.
So I played my first
Australian.
14 to 15,000 hours of PoE in hardcore only. I never played softcore for ages. I've got a level 100 in hardcore. I've got a mirror in hardcore. Like, I did tons of hardcore stuff at the beginning.
I mean, that's what people tell me since I started like super late in like 3.0, right? Like when I started PoE, we already had 10Act. We already had like Kitaba as the end boss and stuff like that. So all this like farming Dominus and stuff, it's like probably Palsteron's era and stuff, you know, where people were grinding that. I think back in the days... Yeah, but I'm just saying, when I talk to people that are playing this game for so much longer, they always say like, there was like 90%, this game was a hardcore game, you know? Like, people had no intention to play softcore, right? And nowadays I would say that like 95% or 90% is just purely softcore trade. But I also would say that based on how many leaks, how many contents that we get, and how many patches we already had, where it was a true shit experience for hardcore, whether you call it betrayal and just get one shot for like 2 weeks straight from like any Tora or Haku or whatever. Then we had like other content like the Beast, you know, Einhard. You know, when even me as a softcore player, when I saw a red beast on the minimap, I was just running a circle around because these monsters were so difficult. And now, especially after Arch Nemesis, the first like couple of days before they got nerfed like 5 times or so, I could just imagine that it's just shit to play hardcore. You know, like I remember this on League Start. I died like 15 or 20 times to this one essence monster on level 5. I had like my blight with Arcane Surge that you get on the start as a witch, right? And I was standing there and I said like, I'm gonna kill this essence monster no matter what, right? And I died like 20 times, you know, like, bro, that was some other experience. And now imagine playing this as hardcore and just restart all over again. Like, oh man, dude.
I think what happened is just that the game got so much content that experiencing it wasn't really possible in hardcore anymore. Like at the start, there was no reason to. Yeah, at the start there was no reason to play softcore. Like, why would you play softcore? There wasn't that much to do, anyways. Everybody would be doing the same things, but there's a lot of content on softcore that you simply can't do in hardcore nowadays. So it just gives you way much more creative freedom.
Yeah. There's in reality somewhere between 10 or 20 people in existence who can do all of the content on hardcore.
Yeah, probably.
Like, there are people. But most people who play hardcore don't get to see anything.
No chance. Right? Yeah.
And that's my turning point too, was there became so much content that I was never going to get it all done. Like, I'm just not good enough as a player. I am not even close to one of those 20 people who can do all the stuff. And I wanted to do all the stuff. Also, it was Betrayal League that I changed to softcore because I died like 14 times.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But yeah, I imagine
such a balanced league.
Yeah, on this Uber bosses, since I tried them a couple of times, I struggle with softcore. Not every build that I play, I would send to fighting Uber bosses. So there is not even remotely close to imagining doing the same thing on hardcore. While I also like struggling, like the Searing Exarch Meteos phase, I have never survived it. Never. So I'm just thinking like, yeah, okay, you probably need like Mage Blood, a Ruby Flask, and like Aegis Max Block, and like Spell Suppression. I don't know what layers of defense you need to actually be able, like a mechanical, ungifted player like me, to actually maneuver your character.
You know what you need?
Shit, you know?
A level 1 Summon Skeletons gem.
Yeah, I know there is some tricks where you can like Ice Wall or Totem before the Meteor, so it just explodes there and gives you more room, right? But
to be fair, I haven't done the Uber Searing Exarch. The Uber is probably a lot rougher than the regular one for the Meteor phase.
It feels like it just never ends.
You need skeletons and faster casting. Because you can't get them out quick enough without it.
Yeah, and this is like a little bit weird. While all the other bosses are fine and they are like, if you know what you're doing, even the other one, the Eater of Worlds, right, with his beam and like soaking this like in his invulnerable phase. But I think I'm pretty sure that a lot of like even hardcore solo self-on veterans that are racers, they also stated that the Searing Exarch is unnecessarily hard. So
I think it would all be fine if they dropped loot, right? That would be cool. Just an idea, just a crazy idea.
Agree.
I mean,
yeah.
The last thing I did in trade before re-rolling the solo self-found was I made a bosser. I used some really cool defensive mechanics that I really like. I used Transcendence instead, so I didn't have Suppression or Max Block. The character is super tanky. I can face tank all the balls that roll around in that Uber fight. I can just stand there and let them all hit me and not move. It's fine.
Yeah, but how many people do have the currency to make a build like yours? That's the
not
issue,
even
right?
the important part. Outside of the Mage Blood, it only cost me about 40x, but it's also got a Mage Blood, so...
Exactly.
Ups the price a
You
lot.
could say that's good, though,
Here's the
right?
thing. I did bossing all day on it, got nothing, realized I lost 75x over the course of the day, and then went, screw that, I'm not bossing anymore. It's not even fun.
Yeah, if it's like gate capped by having a strong character, at least newbies can't lose their money, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like,
What
well,
a great design.
Well, I think specifically with the Eldritch bosses, the problem is that they're like such a gamble for the amulets that are the high value drops. The prices for the tokens to access the fights are pretty much balanced around the amulet drop rates. And so if you're unlucky, then you just keep on losing money, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, but I just nuked like 1,000 Uber bosses, right? So I have the statistics. I've made like 500 Uber Searing Exarch and 500 Uber Eater of Worlds. And
the
the thing is like,
out.
yeah, but the thing is, like, I think if you're doing bosses, you have to see it in the greater good. You're not like mapping and in like 2 or 3 days you have like, oh, I farmed up passively like 10 red invitations for the bosses, right? Let me quickly respec my Atlas tree and let's fight those 10 bosses, because most likely you're not going to get any amulet and you're just going to be mad because in softcore trade it's like 1.3 exalts per invitation per boss, right? So that's like 13x. And if you don't drop anything valuable, then you're just going to be mad and be like, yo, I farmed up like a couple hundred maps. I got my 13 invitations. I ran them and I got absolutely nothing besides like an Eldritch Exalted Orb that sells for like 20 chaos, you know? But if you do it like I did, if you do like, okay, let's do 1,000 bosses. You don't really care if you have no drop amulet on like the first 100 bosses, because you know, okay, I still have 900 to go, and overall it will balance out. And I did actually make profit with the 1,000 bosses, but for the average gamer that just enjoys mapping and runs the invitations next to it, I don't know. It feels unrewarding to do those, because like 13x is 13x, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And then you compare it to like, I mean, you can go altar farming and make 5x an hour, and you can go glacier farming and make 7x an hour, and you can go to heist and make 6x an hour, and you can go full MF crimsons and make like 9x an hour, and they're just consistent. They'll just keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go bossing for a whole day and lose 75x. And they'll be like, I don't know about that.
It depends. Like, I know other people that ran like 15 invitations and got 6 amulets out of it, where I say, like, how is this even possible? It's like, you have a 10% drop chance on the amulet or 50%. How is this like a thing? I have like 1.5%. Like, it's just about luck, you know? It's like bosses are just a big gamble.
I know people who open like 5-stack decks and got an apothecary from it.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, there's people apparently finding mirrors, and like, what the fuck, you know? Like, it's just it's always a gamble. No.
Same.
I found one mirror in hardcore playing a slow trapper. Wasn't MFing or anything.
I found
like
two.
an owl can go.
What? 2 mirrors?
Yeah, one in Parandus and one in Legacy League. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
We kind of already moved on from the softcore, hardcore kind of topic, but I want to ask you, Palsteron, have you always historically been a softcore player? You dabbled in hardcore? Or?
Always softcore. I mean, I dabbled, of course, yeah. Like, hardcore solos I found was fun for like a few days, but I'm softcore only, because I care about builds mostly. That's what I care.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of secondary.
Makes sense.
And making builds on hardcore is too restrictive for me. Like, even when we talk economy and stuff, I just can't get the items that I want. You have to have like a network of people if you want anything on hardcore trade.
Yeah, or you can make like SSF oriented builds, right? Like stuff that you can acquire yourself. But like you said, that's really restrictive when you want to be creative with it. And then it's also, we talked about this so often, Balor and I, on the podcast, off the podcast. It's just like when you want to make content and you're like basically at the mercy of the game's performance and the game's balance, and then your build that you want to make a video about just dies, and then you can't continue it in the same league, and you can't put it against the seasonal content and stuff like that. Even if you continue it in permanent standard, it's just, for content creation, it's really bad.
Yeah, and most people do play softcore trade, so you're also making content for a minority, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So, have you guys seen the news? Which one we talk about first? Timeless jewels have been decoded. There's a post on Twitter by Local Identity that someone in his bubble or in his group of people who maintain Path of Building, someone has actually been able to decode how timeless jewels work. And so we can expect them to be added to POB completely.
I'm kind of sad about it, honestly.
Really?
I kind of enjoyed just not getting power for free and just divining a few jewels. I was always kind of excited when I like look what they did, and now it's just like, okay, I buy like number 876 and I get 25% increased X, done. So I kind of feel robbed a little bit. It's kind of exciting, but I also feel like it's just like power creep, quote unquote, that you now exactly know. But then on the other hand, obviously there was a small amount of people who already knew everything and they just could manipulate the market. So that's the other hand.
I have for a long time already had access to that.
Yeah.
I have the document full of all the good seeds. I don't use it. I tend to divine my own because if I just go buy one, then I get the disgusting ones really cheap and then it's impossible for people to follow it. And that's shit from a content creator standpoint. But because I've got access to that document, I already know it exists. If I want 25% increased stacks, I leave a whoop up for 2 days on softcore trade and it costs me 15C because people don't know that it's the good one because how you're supposed to know.
Yeah.
And so I'm a really big fan of it because that takes that power that I already had access to, and also a ton of like 0.1%ers already have access to. Like it's this one shared Google Doc that's private and invite only, and then like I said, I wasn't using it because it makes it impossible for people to follow my builds if I start using those. But I knew it existed and it was right there in my eyes, and I could just go look. And now that's just given to everyone, which is better. I'm always a fan of power that I already had access to as a bullshit 1%er getting given to everyone. I like that. I don't love it as much when they power creep my top end when I'm already there, but I'm a huge fan of power creeping the general populace up closer to me. Like that's better. I like that.
Yeah. No, I get it for sure. Maybe it's just like a sentimental thing. I always enjoy it. Just buying them, like trying them out. It's kind of hype. You find a good one, you're like, oh, that's insane. But yeah, it does matter in the end. Now everybody's like stackers are just stronger in the end.
And I'm hoping there'll be some sort of system where you can just be like, okay, I'm taking this node, this node, this node, this node, and this node in the radius. And these are the kind of stats that I would like off this brutal restraint or whatever. These are the ones that would be appropriate for me. And show me a list of jewels that would suit my needs.
Yeah, a list of seed numbers that would work, and then maybe also like rank them in terms of how close they come to what I want, and like how good they are numerically for my build in comparison to each other. And yeah,
even just like rank them by like, you know, this one has 5 notables. On the 6 notables that you took, 5 of them are the ones you selected. And these 7 seeds have 4, and these 15 seeds have 3, and these 180 seeds have 2, and then you can, you know, go down the list yourself. So hopefully that works out really well. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I'm optimistic, and I'm definitely happy that they become more accessible to the large, broad player base. I had a discussion on my Discord yesterday with someone who was like, it's not going to change that much. And I was like, it's going to be pretty good. But we couldn't find a final verdict on like whether it's going to make them more affordable for people or not more affordable. I think it's just there's so many like people out there who don't care about these jewels because they're so obscure and who don't bother, except for maybe finding that one perfect one that's listed in their build guide or something like that. But with the information being out there, there's way more nuance to it. Like there's way more than just getting the perfect one. There's more site grading, like more upgrading happening in between them. Like I remember playing like a Deathsolve build where you use Glorious Vanity to take some of the elemental damage as chaos damage, and you max your chaos res and stuff like that. And obviously use that mainly for the keystone, but you still have travel nodes and notables in the radius that get changed by the jewel. And I remember specifically like getting gifted by a jewel by someone who quit the league, who played the same build that was significantly better than mine because it actually had useful stats like chaos resist and increased life and AoE and stuff like that. And now it's just like you don't just stop after you get one, but you're like, oh, can I still improve this? Can I still improve that? What can I get? There's more than just getting the perfect jewel for your build, but there's so many steps in between. And yeah, with all the information being out there, I think it's going to be much easier to like price those jewels and list them. So except for the very, very best jewels, I think overall they will become cheaper for everyone.
You know what I hate about it? I can't really bulk price them anymore. I actually have to think about it now. I hate that. You could just bulk sell it on TFT, and now it's like,
oh yeah,
now I'm gonna have to actually look through it. Oh my god, the worst.
Like I personally
5 ways anyway.
No.
You can still put it into like a 20C dump tab, and if some people spam you for one, then you know it's good and you have to look into it.
I guess.
That's what most people do in software trade anyway, I've been told.
I don't think that it will have any impact as of like my perspective, because I'm not like a 1%er, right? I do not have access to Valor's Omega spreadsheet or something. The way I use these timeless jewels is just like, as like Palsteron says, like the RNG factor, right? If I say, okay, my build needs to have a corrupted soul or something, which is like Doriani's on Glorious Vanity, if I'm correct, right? Then I just go divine like 3-4 times. Oh, I hit the Doriani's. I put it in on my spot, right? And then I just check the travel notes and what do I have there. If it's good, I keep it. If not, then I just keep divining until I hit Doriani again and check again, right? I'm not like the person that goes for Doriani, makes an entire character which has every single jewel slot in the entire tree and pop this in every single spot to see what is around. This could be good for that build. That could be good for that build. Like, to be honest, I don't think it will have any impact at all, because I think, yes, there is a lot of builds are using timeless jewels because of the sake that they need the keystone that you will not get otherwise, right? But other than that, like these like builds that are focused around these jewels, I don't know about summoners. I think summoners use like those, or especially omniscience builds, right? They want to have like the double damage stacking or dexterity stacking, but this is just like a minority of builds, and I think people will continuously hunt down TFT, for example. There's like a thread where people can post their timeless jewels, right? And then you just have like a shopping list and be like, okay,
Which
because
won't
in
be
the end
necessary anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know how they want to solve this, because, for example, if we take on the right side of the Ranger tree where there's this frenzy node, right, with like the multiplier, the accuracy, you don't care if you have 5 decks on the frenzy node, if you take frenzy, or if you have 5% on the, I don't know, the all resistance node or whatever, right? And I think every time you swap like 2 stats, it's gonna be a different seed. So how are you going to do that? Do you just going to right click on PUB and say 5% on every single node that is allocated around you and be like, give me the best possible result, and then check the seed number or something? Like, I think maybe there is going to be like less than 1% of the player base that are actually doing that. I think that the majority of people will still do it the same way as they do right now.
I think that it's going to be... just look at the PoE community as a whole. Do you really think there's not going to be one person who's going to write everything down now for everybody? Like, come on. Yeah. There's going to be somebody who's now going to make it public, 100%.
This is how it's going to work, right? If you're an average person instead of a... Like, yeah, maybe I'm going to go out and buy a 100x perfect one, right? Maybe I'm going to do that. I'm going to make myself a deck stacker. I'm going to find one that's got 20% chance for double damage and 20% dex on it total in my 1 radius. And it's going to be great, and it's going to cost me 100x, right? But that doesn't affect most people, right? What you're going to get from most people is they're going to go, okay, I've got 4 notables in this area, and they're just going to be able to select those 4 notables, and then they're going to be able to select the things that they would like: 4% max life, 20 flat this, intimidate, whatever, in like a list. And then it's just going to generate them. I don't know who's going to make this, but someone's going to make it. They're going to click a button, and it's going to generate them a search that'll have at least 3 useful things in the nodes that I've got. And they'll click a button, it'll open up trade, and it'll look for count 1 of any of these seeds, and they'll just pick up one of these jewels and put it in.
It's like sad, because I personally think for me, it's a very satisfying thing to do if I just buy any timeless jewel and buy like 100 divines for like 10x or something, and then just spam, and then you put it in and you see, oh, I got my keystone, and then let's check the notes. Like on my Winter Orb character, I hit like a very good one, and I see like, oh shit, I got cast speed, I got spell damage, I got multiplier twice, I have some lightning resistance. This is great. I'm being excited for it,
But you can You can still do that, but you don't have to actually have a character that has a jewel socket allocated, but you can just copy paste it into POB and find out what it does without having the character.
Yeah, I personally just don't like it. I think it should be still like not public, and it should keep the RNG aspect, because it's just like the fun point of it, right?
I think it's huge for mid-tier attribute stackers, like huge for people who aren't rich and are able to afford like I don't know, 400 divines, or they can like buy a bulk tab from a 5-way farmer, they're just gonna get, I don't know, 15% dex plus 20 dex, 20 cold res or whatever.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's still insane.
I agree. Mid-tier, it's going to be so impactful because it's going to be so easy to actually find or identify a jewel that will be better than not having a jewel. Like at the very top tier, it's probably going to, I mean, if it's common knowledge which ones are the absolute best seed numbers, then those will be super expensive probably. But just getting one that is worth using over not using one, so much easier now.
I actually wonder how this affects. Sorry, I actually wonder how this affects 5-way runners. If it's actually more profit, right? Yeah, it actually is probably. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's what I'm wondering.
Significantly more profit for a 5-way farmer, but also a little more work because, like you said, they're not going to be able to chuck them in a bulk tab.
Yeah, for sure.
You chuck them in a bulk tab, and suddenly there's 600 people looking for your seed.
To be fair, no. They're going to have some kind of trick to just like import it into POB immediately and then find it out. Or they have like their lists of stuff that's like decent. So I think it's going to take like maybe a league or so. And then the 5-way farmers are just going to have it figured out anyways. And then it doesn't matter. They have like their tabs with certain price.
Like the chaos recipe, like that one that just like indexes your tabs. It'll just have a list of all the good
I'm
seeds.
sure they have something like that. I mean, we're talking about the PvE community. Of course they're going to have that. Let's be real. Yeah,
I'm pretty confident that it'll make a really big difference to casual to mid-end people. Your top-end people, you're like 0.01 percenters. Very little difference. Most of them, like the bullshit top-end people, they already had access. We already knew all the good seeds. Like it's fine. If we're going to buy them before, we're going to buy them now. Doesn't make a difference. But that was power they already had.
Yes, I'm not a 0.01%er. I'm the streamer of the people.
Right, but that doesn't change anything for them. That's not a buff. It's not a nerf. It's not anything. If anything, it's a bit of a nerf because you've just told the rest of the public what the good seeds are. So the idea of a 0.1%er sniping a jewel for 25C because it was in a dump tab that's actually worth 100x once you know what it is, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
You're not going to pick up a 25C jewel anymore. You're going to have to pay 120x for the 120x jewel.
I mean, it's still going to happen, but yeah, I know. It's still going to happen, but I know what you mean, yeah.
But far less, right? Yeah. Like, but it just makes it super easy. Like, how many people run those jewels because they have to and get nothing useful? And if you can just for a few clicks be like, here are my 4 notables, put something on them, right? Just anything. Give me Intimidate and 5% strength node. And that's it. And so you can just go and pick one of them up for 20C instead of 15C. And suddenly you've got more power. There's 11% more damage in your build. Great.
So what if it's actually fine for flippers because they're going to get less of the jewels, but now they can actually sell it easy as sell because everybody knows what the good ones are. What if flippers are completely fine, actually?
It might be.
I mean, I will never forget, like, 4 leagues ago, I tried to make, like, a hollow palm character, and the goal was to go for over 3,000 dexterity, which is not that easy on a hollow palm build, since you have less items to wear, right? And I remember I was having, like, a bulk seller for divines, and in the end of the day, I gave him over a mirror for divines, and it was like a thing close to like 2,500 divines, 2,600 divines, and I was sitting here because I had like 4 nodes with my timeless jewel, and I said like I want to have like dex, percent dex, something like that, you know. And like 5 hours, I kept divining. At the end of the day, I was down a mirror in divines, and I just deleted this jewel, and I said like, you know what, this build sucks anyways. So we go on to the next bit. And if I know what I will get in the end, then it just, you know, I mean, of course I lost maybe like a couple chaos in divines, you know, or a bit more, but it's like
enjoyed sitting there for 5 hours.
What if, you know, like I'm literally
streamer of the people, yeah.
I'm solely the reason why divines are still 10 chaos apiece. Like even yesterday, I bought like over 100x worth of divines because I was trying to finish my boots, and yeah. I'm really enjoying just sitting there and spamming divines, but it's like my biggest weakness.
All right. Do you think GGG is gonna change how Timeless Jewels works as a consequence to keep them mysterious?
I don't
Next
think
week?
so, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
Like be vicious.
Was pointed out in chat that Mark said somewhere that it would be very easy for them to change. I don't know whether that's a legit quote or where that information
they've
comes
said
from.
it before in the past. I don't know if it was recent, but they did say it would be super easy for them to change the seed. But I don't know if they will.
It is, because they just have to, like, you know, they are setting up the misery, so they can just change like some values in the code, and everything will be gone, right? And then people have to refigure out how this entire thing works. And I mean,
change the range
Legion
from 0 to 18,000 to 18,001 to 36,000, and just have like 18,000 new ones.
Yeah, well, if the code is the same, then they're still gonna figure out, because they know how it works now. It has to be like some code changes, but in the end of the day, these Timeless Jewels came with Legion League. Legion League was 3.7, and now we are on 3.18.
Yeah, so almost 3
think
years
about
later.
how long it took actually to figure that out. And then there could be like literally a couple changes in the code, and it would probably take another year or 2 years to figure that one out as well. So I would be happy if GGG would actually do that. Because like this entire mystery about Timeless Jewel, I really like it. I mean, there's probably people that say like, yo, mbX just talks shit, like he just doesn't abuse like the best seeds, and that's why he doesn't want to have them. I mean, probably, yeah. Just because I'm a lazy player, right? But I always like this, like this misery, right? Or being able to just have this like sheer moment when you actually hit a craft. If you hit the Awakener Orb, if you divine your Timeless Jewel yourself, and be like, holy shit, that turned out a lot better than I expected. You know, I wanted to have 5 decks over here, and then check my notes, and I have 5 decks over there, and a double damage note. Holy shit, this thing is amazing, right? I like really love these kind of things in the game.
I think they might need goodwill after 3.18, so maybe they're not going to change it. We'll see.
Oh, damn. Shots fired.
I mean, if they're going to change it, I would appreciate it if they waited a league. Like, just give us one league, just like they did this experiment this league where they didn't do any balance changes. And safe to say they're probably not going to do that again. I don't know. But yeah, it would be cool if just for 3.19 we worked with the Timeless Jewels working with POB, and then afterwards they changed the algorithm somehow that it doesn't work anymore. So, if they want to change it, I'm sort of like indifferent. It's like a tiny part of the game, so I don't mind either way.
Just as was said in chat here, they've historically been pretty happy with us figuring stuff out. They tend to not want to give us directly the information. But when we as a greater community figure things out, they tend to just be happy to let us continue existing with that knowledge. They don't really tend to take it away from us once we figure it out. So I'd be surprised if they change it.
That's fair. I mean, time will tell. Another interesting thing that happened in the past week or so was there was a thread on Reddit. The thread itself, I don't know what it was about. It said, can we please not have every thread about TFT get deleted from the subreddit? So I assume that somehow when people talk about TFT on the subreddit that the mods delete the threads or something like that. That's not as important as BexGGG commenting to that thread. And I quote literally, we are discussing some potential changes for 3.19 that would make this Discord channel, in reference to TFT, far less necessary going forward. What do you guys think is going to happen that makes TFT less necessary if the potential changes go through? I mean, discussing potential changes doesn't mean that there is actual changes coming, but what could GGG be doing to make TFT less needed? I mean, obviously outside of deleting Harvest. Which
I just love how after that vague message gets out, every single YouTuber is like, "Oh, Harvest is itemized. It's done." It's like as if that's the only thing that you do on TFT. It's so fucking random. Like you can do so many things on TFT. I don't know. Harvest is like 10% maybe. I understand that. I would want that to happen as well. It was just kind of funny to me.
I don't think they're going to itemize it. I don't think they're going to allow for itemization of harvest crafts because they they've walked back on things they said in the past, but this specific one, I believe they mentioned at some point in the past that the spawn rates of certain crafts are balanced around people not knowing which crafts are good and not putting them up for trade. So if that is more streamlined, then certainly they'd have to reduce the spawn rate of the more rare crafts. Rarer?
The last time I got an augment was the League Harvest came back in full swing. I haven't seen an augment since then, so I don't know how much rarer they can be.
How much harvest do you do, though? You do juiced mapping mostly, right? You don't.
Yeah,
really
but I
put
do all the
harvest on.
harvests, I see.
But not invested, right? You don't have like the tree
No,
nodes, the passive tree. Yeah,
but
harvest
still-
without the Atlas passive nodes is garbage.
It's still 0 from that league until now. And I play like 2.5 out to 3 months all day, every day. Like that's still 0. That's still like, I don't know how much rarer they could be, but
I've heard of a couple of augments in my, immediate community or like around the corner. So I mean, I haven't found one myself, but
That sounds like the mirror drops, Like when I start streaming every day, there's like 10 different people saying, "Oh, I just dropped the mirror, but I apparently drops, just not for me." And it's the same thing for you, Hey, these guys all found augment life, augment influence, augment crit, whatever, but I just didn't find one. So I guess they drop. I can agree with Balor. Like I still have like this thing, and augment speed can still drop, right? And when I go harvest, and I always do harvest, without notes, but every time I see speed, I just instantly click on that because an augment speed is so much worth, right? But I have never gotten any augments. Like I can totally agree with Balor there, so it's a myth, I guess.
Here's my thing to answer the question though, and I want to preface this with like, I have a ton of respect for Bex, but that sentence doesn't make any sense to me. There is nothing that they could do to make TFT not relevant without changing the entire game.
she said far less necessary.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that it's not relevant, right?
But it's not necessary now. Tons of people don't use it.
Well, less necessary.
Necessary is a very strong. Like the best.
I mean, what is really necessary, right?
The best way I've been able to describe it, because obviously, like, I'm sure we all get this question a lot streaming. We all get asked about TFT. Everyone does. The thing about it is, a version of TFT or something similar has existed in every online game you've ever played since the 90s. This has always been a thing. I've known about it in most games I've played. It has always existed. It used to be forum trading, so it used to be slower, but it was this amount of power and this amount of unfair advantage always given to the 1% who knew it existed. If you didn't know it existed, you were never part of that 1%. This is the first game where it's been intentionally made public for literally everyone. But there's no version of any online game that involves trading that doesn't have a system like this. It's got nothing to do with GGG failing. It's got nothing to do with a trade system that's bad. It's got to do with exactly the game exists online and trading exists. If those two requirements are met, something like TFT exists in that game. It is just exclusive to the 1% who hoard power for themselves. And in this instance, they decided to go super public with it. And now everyone knows it exists and everyone has access. There's nothing GGG can do to stop it from being relevant. It's just the first time the larger community knows how to access all of that power. That's all.
Yeah. Like those kind of groups existed before. Is my audio better, by the way? Or is it still fucked?
No, it's slightly better, but
Okay.
I'll add some gain here so you can keep
Okay.
up. But
So-
it's not overdriving anymore that much.
Yes, just as Balor said, these communities always existed. It's just that it's kind of like the masses have it now. That's basically exactly what I wanted to say. It's like also all this drama. I mean, it's always going to happen when it comes to items and currency. People putting in 20 hours a day. There's always going to be drama. It just happens. It doesn't matter who runs TFT. It doesn't matter who is involved. There's always going to be something.
Do you think it might be possible that they... please elaborate. I wanted to sort of tangent off?
So in my opinion, like, since I'm there with a TFT since like the beginning, more or less, so it was like insane. But I think the system itself is actually super nice because it's just so impactful in softcore trade, more or less. When I like craft an item, I don't think about running lab. I just know I'll probably find one on TFT that runs my boots for lab and chant service, and I'll pay 2 exalts for penetration. I just keep on grinding or whatever, right? If I craft another thing, I know, okay, somebody will have the 30% quality for my armor, for my weapon, the enchants that I need, and so on, right? But I think it's actually insane that the community built up a necessary tool to play trade league successfully, more or less, right? Because of course you can always farm your ace T4 ace links yourself, but the problem is, like, do we want to do that? Like, PoE is such an insanely big game that if you would do everything yourself, like you do in solo self-hunt, more or less, right? You cannot really experience the entire game anymore, which kind of sucks, Like, if I'm crafting and I put my Awakener orbs and now the recombinators together and I block my prefixes and I say, like, yo, if I hit the ace link, I'm not thinking about, shit, I need to farm Betrayal. No, I open TFT and say, like, yo, I want to buy your ace link for 3x, Like, it's always like a giving and taking. But the problem is, like, for those kind of things, like a Blab and Chant service, for those, or I even can, like, order people that are buying stuff for me. Like, remember, like, the gambles that I do, right? Most of the time, I'm not even buying the stuff myself. I search for somebody. I say, like, yo, I have 100x. I need 1,000 of this diff card. And somebody will message me and be like, yo, I have time. I have nothing to do. Give me your currency. I will do it, right? So it's, like, really nice in that case. But the only thing that really sucks, if you want to do something in bulk, and with bulk, I mean Harvest Crafts, for example. Like, back in Harvest League, I could just find somebody and I told him, like, yo, I need 150 remove at defense, and he will tell me, like, yo, I got this tomorrow evening, and you can, like, craft items with me and just tell me bulk, right? Nowadays, if I want to do that, I need to, like, go to TFT and search one trade per person, and then vouch and go back and search the next one and vouch again. And, like, this whole vouching system, like, if that would be simplified, that would be, like, insanely cool, actually, because this is, like, the annoying part, right? But all the rest, like, I don't know, it's always, like, how much of this, like, kind of power do you want to use? Like, for example, the timeless jewels, right? There is, like, a topic or a channel in the TFT Discord where you say, like, want to sell timeless jewel, and you see people preparing their images. Okay, here's 5 decks, here's 5 decks, here's 5 decks, and you can just talk to them and be like, yo, let's negotiate about the price. I want to have your jewel, for example, right? I mean, I think that the thing, like, with TFT is, like, really good, but the only thing that I don't like, I think GGG could work towards, like, more itemized things, because nowadays we can, like, if I don't want to run my Alba Temple, I just create an itemized item and I throw it on my stash for later usage, or I just sell it or just vendor it, right? And I explain this in my streams, like, so often. Like, remember, like, at least, like, in Bestiary, you can buy an orb where you can capture your beast into a fucking Bestiary orb, right? Why can I not have an item like that, go to my crafting bench and right-click the bench craft? And if you buy my, I don't know, like, Augment Influence, and you right-click in your hideout, this craft gets added to your harvest station. Like, where is the big problem?
The fast answer is because it would bypass the 10 crafts limit on your bench, but...
Yeah, then you cannot use it if your bench is full. Then it will tell you, like, cannot use item because bench is full. So you have to, like, delete one, and then just... It doesn't really matter, but... In the end of the day, it's, like, more quality of life, and I do not have to use other services, right?
I think they're afraid of what happens if Harvest becomes too easily accessible. I think they kind of made a very annoying thing for them when they released Harvest. They didn't really think about long term, and the community liked it so much that they couldn't just outright remove it, or at least they thought they couldn't. And now we're in this mess where it's just, like, gated behind being annoying as hell, which is what they like to do a lot, which is obnoxious, in my opinion.
I agree with everything you said, but I do think that they had the time to remove it without that big of feedback. I think if it never came back after Harvest League, wouldn't have been that big of an outcry at all.
Yeah, I agree.
But after Ritual Harvest League, they said, hey, we're doing this experiment that's definitely going to break the game. This is insane. And so no one was really realistically expecting it to stay. It was the league it came back with full power when it wasn't nerfed. That was the league that was a mistake. Yeah. If that never happened, there wouldn't be a big outcry of, oh my god, make my harvest more accessible, very harvest. Like you expected it. They brought it back. That was the mistake part.
What about recombinators then? I think recombinators are way more powerful than harvest ever was. Yes, you had the deterministic crafting and you can like 6 times T1 items, but now having the opt to have like a double power charge ring or spell suppression on an energy shield base, which is technically not even possible, not even harvest can grant you that. So recombinators do have like their own like insane power, and I think the power levels, the power spikes of recombinators is above harvest, to be honest.
That's the funny part, because we argue that a lot on stream, and I came to the conclusion thinking about it that I actually agree that recombinators are better than harvest because they have higher potential upper end. Like you can make impossible items with recombinators.
Yeah.
You can make really good items with harvest, and it's going to be easier on average than with recombinators. But the upper end, like you just can't make impossible items. You can't beat that with harvest. It's impossible.
Okay. I also agree. Recombinators are stronger than harvest in its current form.
Yeah.
I think harvest in its original form was overall stronger, even though you couldn't make impossible items. Harvest in its original form, I think, was stronger.
I guess we would have to argue about what stronger means. If we talk upper end, I mean, I think there's no talking about recombinators being. I mean, recombinators are just better at. Do you mean on average for average player, or?
Well, here's the bit that gets me. Here's the real bit that gets me. I never wanted harvest added into the game. I still think I want harvest removed, except there are some crafts there that are specific crafts that I really like that I think should exist somehow. Changing resistances, swapping fragments, those sort of things. I love those. But recombinators I want them to stay, and I want them to stay common. And I have been racking my brain trying to figure out why I'm so okay with recombinators when the upper end power is more powerful than current harvest, and I still want harvest gone. And I used to cite power as the reason I wanted harvest gone. But we've got power in recombinators, but it just feels more like PoE crafting. I don't know.
I think they just feel unique, don't they? They just feel so unique. It's like nothing you ever really did before. It's so weird as well. I think they have to fix 3 things. Or let's say 2. Let's say 2 things. One thing is you can't make more than one fractured mod on an item. And number 2 would be when you're crafting them, you can't overlap mods. Those count, so they have to find a way where you can't overlap mods for crafting them. I think if those 2 changes occur,
what do you specifically mean when you say overlapping mods? Just so
for example, if you have like one prefix on, like if you have life on an item, and then you craft on mana on both items that you want to recombinate, that basically counts as 2 mods for the how likely it is to keep a certain amount of mods. But on the same hand, it can't pick 3 different mods because mana is just 1 mod. So you're more likely to keep the life, if that makes sense. Because once it picks the mana, it can only pick the life again because it can't pick mana twice. That's kind of why recombinators are so OP. I think if they fix that, it would be way, way harder to craft anything you want.
So I had 2 things that I want them to fix before adding it into main game. And one of very similar to yours, one of them. And the other one's completely different. One, I want fractured modifiers to retain their current standing, basically. I want it so that if you have a fractured modifier, let's say you've got a 2-stone and an amethyst ring you're putting together, right? If the 2-stone has a fractured modifier and it picks the 2-stone base, the fracture comes regardless because it's a fracture and it stays.
So so the fracture should be bound to the base.
Based on the 2-stone and it picks the amethyst ring, that fracture is gone. There's no chance of it coming over because I think the fracture should be tied to the base because that's the whole point.
Yeah,
the whole point is this belongs here no matter what you do. So if it picks a different base, it should you cannot bring that fractured mod with you.
That's the same way as synthesized items work, right?
Yeah.
You cannot transfer the implicit, but if it picks the synthesized item, it will come with those implicits because it's bound to the item, right?
Yeah. So I think that's where fractures sit before now. They're locked to that always. And I think that should stay. Like they should change recombinators so that it works like that. That way you'll also never get double, triple fractured items, and you won't be able to move a fracture to a different item, stuff like that. I think that's good. I think that would help. And also, mirrored and corrupted items just shouldn't be usable.
Yeah.
Mirrored and corrupted items just shouldn't work in the Recombinator. I can't apply any other currency to it. And it makes sense right now in a league. Fine. I'm fine with everything exactly the way it is. But if it gets added to the base game, mirrored, corrupted items, no use. Fractured, stay with the base. Fixed.
I actually agree. I really like how they I really like the way they actually do that also with Harvest, where they release something just in an overpowered state. I think that's fun. It makes every league kind of unique. Like this league was super fun to craft with Recombinators, but I don't want it in the main game because the problem is if you put Recombinators in the main game as they are right now they want to make something exciting again for crafting, they have to go even overboard, right? So it's just like a power creep accelerator, which I think is bad. So I think if they want to implement stuff, they just have to like tone it down to where, for example, an Orb of Alteration is or whatever. Like they just kind of have to adjust it to what the main game is about.
I'm not sure.
Now that you've
honestly.
mentioned the double crafting thing, I remember how much easier that made a bunch of my Recombinators, and I'd be pretty happy with all 3 of those changes.
Yeah, that change is huge. So yeah, having done a lot of fractured mods, especially if you combine a lot of fractured mods on items, I mean, it is so helpful. It is.
My League Start character had like 5 double fractured items on it by like day 3. I had like an additional arrow attack speed bow that was fractured that I then essence crafted, and then I had like suppression movement speed boots that I then crafted stats onto, and then I had like amethyst rings for my omniscience build that were like T1 accuracy, T1 wed, and then I would essence craft the 2 stats on, and I got all my accuracy off them with wed and life and minus mana because of the double fractured. And I'm like, these are disgusting. They were like 50x rings. I made them on like day 2 because of double fractures. Like,
yeah, fracture mods in general are huge for league starters, which I think people don't realize. Like just locking in one mod at the start, and I don't know, like locking in 125 life on your chest and just being able to throw in whatever essence you want is huge. It's insane. And ever since Eldritch Implicits,
it's super easy to make an item with 3 mods, right? Like super easy.
Yeah.
If you go for 3 mods, anyone can craft. You can chaos spam into 3 mods. It is super easy. So if you've got a fractured one, it's suddenly 4. If you double fracture something, it's suddenly a 5 mod item.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, fractured items in general have just had such a power boost ever since Eldritch Implicits came out, right? Because before it was like you can't go influence, but now it doesn't matter. Influence is kind of useless mostly, and now everybody's just like Eldritch Implicits. It's insane.
So I see the biggest problem as of right now that almost every single league has its own power creep when it comes to crafting. You know, Harvest, Recombinators. What about the Scourge currency where you could like get like 6 links for free? You know, like the Eldritch currency. Like back in the days, it was like I want to have my double influenced items. You know, because of the mods that I could get. Like. Even before that, you know, what was like the craziest build that you could play? Probably Eternity Shroud, right? But as of right now, Crusade, like Shaper is the worst Crusader, as well as Elder is the worst Hunter, right? And I think like these builds from the past where you say like, you know what, I'm going to make an Eternity Shroud build, it's going to have like the biggest damage ever, right? Like Eternity Shroud builds nowadays just feel like so bad, you know, because there is so many better ways to build it, you know, because you are locked down to Shaper items. So you cannot get like Tailwind Elusive Onslaught boots because they don't have Shaper in it, right? So you had to build your character completely different. While nowadays, you don't even want to have influence anymore because the Searing Exarch implicits are just so freaking powerful, you know? Because not only like, if you like awaken an orb like a chest with like base crit and like additional curse, those 2 items are there. So you have 4 other items or stats that you want to have, other than the Searing Exarch things that, in my opinion, are sometimes even stronger than influence modifiers. You have a 6 mod item and get 2 implicits on top. So it's an 8 mod item now instead, right? So yeah, it's probably the 6 mod item compared to double influenced one is maybe a little bit weaker, but thanks to getting 2 additional implicit modifiers, makes it like a lot stronger. And I think like the main issue is that every single league we get more and more powerful tools to craft our items while completely ignoring the fact from the past. Like you know how unrewarding Delve feels right now because nobody cares about or the minority cares about fossil crafting anymore or beast crafting and maybe in 5 leagues nobody gives a shit about harvest anymore because we're gonna have so much way more powerful tools and we just think back about remember harvesting, remember recombinators being a thing 2 years ago. So I agree with Palsteron, every time they bring new stuff when it comes to crafting, which they do almost every single league, it has to be more powerful because then people are going to complain if they're not doing it, then people are just going to complain yeah, I mean, we have it, but this other thing was way crazier, right? So they always have to top themselves and giving us even more and more power in this counter. It really sucks. I still I really missed those days when somebody had a triple T1 fizz weapon, with flat fizz, percent fizz, and hybrid, right? I think in standard back in the days there were 6 or 7 items in up for mirror service that had this because the chance of getting that back in the days I spent alterations to get merciless or dictators or something, right? It's a chance 1 over 5,000 alterations to hit this mons. And then you have the merciless roll, which is also a 5,000, and then you have to flat, So you really appreciate if somebody has the RNG or maybe Catmaster just picks up a weapon from the floor and identifies and that comes with double T1, T2, and he's damn, But I think nowadays with the power levels you have, everybody knows that you can get so ridiculously items. You just have to wait for this Omega whales at PoE to craft them, so you can probably just mirror them because you will never be able to craft things like that yourself, right? And I wish that they would just get away with all or remove certain power creeping or buffing the other ones. Because I really like Delve. I still think that fossil crafting is the same power as essence crafting, for example, but it's so obsolete in today's current meta when it comes to crafting with recombinators, with harvest, with tainted currency, and who knows what next league will come, right?
There's some things that you can only do with with fossils, like the +1 attribute gem glove thing, right? +1
or an
strength
abyss
int.
socket, but this is such a minority.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The thing is, I think fossil crafting in a lot of cases is actually way better than essence crafting. The difference is I can pick up 2,500 essences over the course of a 14-hour stream, and I am never going to get that many fossils. It's not happening. And if I am, I'm not going to get that many of the bits that you need to put the fossil in to be able to craft. I'm not going to. It's not. And for the sake of, I could just use 10 essences for the same good chance as an item of 1 fossil, but I can pick up 45 essences before I get the 1 fossil. So
way more annoying to use, right?
Yeah,
way more clicks than essences. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you've got to pull them all out, separate all the things, put all the fossils in.
Yeah. I don't even understand about resonator. I mean, I kind of like the resonator model, but I think it should be easier to craft with it. I don't know.
It'd be good if I had a stack of resonators and I put a stack of fossils in, and then just click, 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 click.
It's probably really hard to do, though. I don't know.
That would be insanely hard to do, I imagine. Having a stack of 10 resonators and being able to put a stack of 10 fossils in so they're all in the same slot.
It would be more something would have to be done in the stash.
Yeah, right? in the fossil tab, and then it's pay to win again, and people are going to be but now if you don't have a fossil tab, then you don't make max use.
Yeah.
Another aspect of this whole thing, crafting power creep, that I wanted to bring up real quick is the fact that the game needs to be balanced around the new baseline of weapons and power that you can get from items. And what I feel I've had some people in my community played the Omniscience build with the claw, right? Lightning strike or whatever they play. And it seems to be pretty much the baseline expectation for anyone playing that build that you have a triple essence damage, a triple flat essence damage or tier 1 damage claw. And it's really only about the suffixes now. That's the min-maxing, but the baseline expectation is everyone has those 3 best flat damage prefixes. Whereas back in the day, I remember people doing the top end content on items that had only tier 3 prefixes or something like that. There was still a lot of room to improve, but now there's no room to improve anymore. And yeah, the baseline level of gear is so high, there's no room to improve, but the game needs to be balanced around those people to still be a challenge, and I'm just not happy with the place where it is there.
I don't know if it has to be balanced around them. It's like GGG tries to balance around the best players a lot, and I appreciate like I appreciate the game or them trying to make the game hard. It's just it alienates so many people. I don't know if it's actually like necessary, as you said. I think it could be like a lot of the problems I have with Arch Nemesis. Sorry to pivot a little bit, but are that its baseline increase of how hard the game is. It's not opt-in. It's just like baseline. Everything gets harder, and I think that's a trend. That's a worrying trend in an RPG where you can't outplay your enemies. It's more about experience and just gear checks. I think that's a very worrying trend.
See, I tend to not subscribe to the like slippery slope style arguments, like where like, oh, it's a worrying trend, but like I don't really care if it's a trend. I'll be there yet. Like, are we at the point where it's a problem? I think Arch Nemesis is actually really good. I think the game needed a base level difficulty increase.
I think it's good now. But
yeah, at release it was insane. And obviously,
that's what I'm talking about.
Tone it down a tiny bit more as well. I still think some of the immunity ones are a little bit too much for like, irrelevant for me and mine, but still pretty really, really, really punishing. Some of the immunity ones, like 70% less damage from Ignite. Okay, but if you're playing an Ignite build, though, you blow up the entire screen and then you spend a full minute trying to kill this one rare that doesn't take damage from you. Seems a little
I just think it's worrying that they released it in the state it was in. And after 3.15, which, by the way, I didn't think 3.15 was as bad as 3.18, for example, which is, I guess, a hot take. But the first 3 days of this league were fucking awful. It was like actually them trying to balance around the top 1%. That's what it felt like. And for me, it doesn't matter. That's what GG apparently doesn't realize. I'm going to put another 100 exalts into my build, and it's going to feel like exactly the same as it felt last league. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
But other people, they're not going to make 100x in the league. So it's like, what do you want? And how do you want to attract new players when your difficulty is not opt-in, but actually built into the game and they can feel it from the get-go? I think RPGs are so much better if you have all of the stuff that Chris Wilson does. I think or GG does in general. I think it's awesome that something like Shaper exists, like Maven exists, stuff that a lot of people will never see. I just don't subscribe to increasing the base game's difficulty that much. I just don't feel it.
So,
I don't mind the increase.
It was insane. Sorry.
Yeah, let me quickly get that one in. I don't mind the increase in difficulty. I just don't think it should be in the first half of the game, because that was already too hard for new players and in general.
In stream as well, like they made like this top tier rare packs. As I said in the start, right? I was fighting this essence monster and I died like 20 times because I was level 6 or 7 and I had a 2-link. It was just impossible. So the easiest solution would have been to leave the game as it is, or just have like this decaying difficulty, right? Like just a global 75% less effect of rare monster power or something, like, all the effects like just tuned down until you reach mapping. And then if it's low tier, if it's white tier, it's like 60% reduced. If it's yellow tier, it's like 30% reduced. And as soon as you go high tier, it's 0%. Because once you reach high tier, you're gonna have your links, you're gonna have your defenses. Like this league was the first time, like usually, what did our league start? I cannot really remember, but doesn't matter. I remember that usually you take as your first aura, you take something like Hatred, you take Malevolence, you take any damaging aura, right? And this league, the first 2 hours that I took was Purity of Elements for the ailment avoidance and Determination. I've never league started with 2 defensive auras in the start, but I had to. And as a softcore player, I did enjoy it, but that's me talking, knowing, like Palsteron said, I'm going to make my currency, right? And if it takes another 100x into my build, I'm going to farm the 100x, and I'll be fine at some point, and it will not feel any different. But the problem is, like, you cannot apply this rule to the overall player. It's just not possible. So the only mistake that they did was just to have this full power even in the campaign where you don't even have access to something, right? Like you don't have like ailment immunity on like super early on, right? And this is like the biggest issue on that kind of take. But I would be thankful for that if you say that the power of monsters increase the further you progress into the Atlas. So the red tiers will become a lot harder, as well as the lower tiers will not have any impact of that. And we had those tools in the past where you had like this, the what is it, like the Conqueror Stones or Void Stones, whatever, where you could roll success modifiers with +1 area back in the days where we ran tier 19 map instead of tier 16. And I do also think like the invitations that you can roll, like try an Uber Exarch when it's just the regular white invitation, or try one that has like 200 quant, where all the modifiers getting increased thanks to Hate of Hubris, right? This is like I played a 20 billion discharge build, and even my build that literally one-shots everything was struggling on some modifiers because these bosses get so ridiculously hard, but it was my decision to make it. And I think that the way that GGG goes with like giving controls to the player how hard they want to run their content is like a very good thing. So if I say, yo, I just don't have currency, my build sucks, I cannot do these kind of things, I don't have to. But if my build is strong enough, dude, I can run like maps with like 25 modifiers, you know? Like I would really like if they would implement something like they have it in Diablo 3, where you say like you can scale your map tier. So it's not ending on 16, but I could also increase the difficulty to like a tier 20. Or instead of like an 8 modded rare corrupted map, I could get up to like 15 modifiers and just pretty much disable my entire build, right? And that's another point that I still think they should finally change. Something like, I think like Reflect is something like from the past, you know, like if I just don't want to have this point where something disables my entire build. Now, I've even had this with Headhunter changes. I was playing like old school pure fist impale and as a cyclone slayer, right? And I had a Headhunter on, and I stole a modifier that converted all my physical damage. So I was cycloning into the pack, and I did like 5 damage to the monsters because I'm pure fist, pure impale, right? And it all was converted. And I was like, great, there's another mod that just disables my entire build.
And it only takes 4 rares to turn your whole build off too, right?
Yeah.
Because every one of them is like 25% fizz converted. Fizz is extra, and you're like, but I have brutality, so that's 25% less damage. And then you manage to kill 3 more, and you do 0 damage. Like,
I just don't like the fact that some things just entirely not make it hard, but completely disable your build. Like how many people roll over cannot regen? I think it's fine to have like less regen, but just have no regen at all. Like if you're a Slayer and you roll a no leech map, like yeah, great. This just this modifier disables your entire ascendancy. Like wow, you know, like I think those kind of completely disabling things should be something from the past, while like still increasing the difficulty at some point.
Well,
I'm just kind of sorry. Go ahead.
No, just quickly. You said you wanted to be opt-in, so like those things are opt-in. That's why I'm like a little bit confused. But no, please go ahead, Palsteron.
I'm just confused about their design decisions in 3.15 and 3.18, just because this game has always been about speed. And that's what people, I think, don't remember. They're like, they started, I don't know, in 3.10, and they're like, oh, according to all my friends, apparently like 1 year before I started, the game was super slow, super hardcore, whatever. Like, the game was, like, look back to a Q-Dog video with, like, Valve Fireball from, I don't know, 2.3. This game was always about speed. That's what people loved about this game. These old hardcore eras where you literally stand in front of white mobs for a minute, that was, I don't know, like, a few months, maybe a year. Like, that's never what this game was about. So for 7-8 years, you concoct this game that's clearly made for speed, and just like, I don't know, it's not the hardest game, but it's super fun, it's theory crafty, and then you're like throwing out these patches. I just don't understand where it comes from. I don't get it.
Can I ask one question real quick? Because you refer so often to 315. What league was 315? Because I think like, oh shit, what was 315?
Where they nerfed all the super gems.
Yeah.
Okay, that probably makes sense for the people that are watching this VOD as well, right? Because you always say like compare 350 to 380, and I'm like, shit, dude, what was the 350?
Yeah, they cut everybody's damage in half.
It was the league with all the outrage, with the dev podcasts, where they got it fast,
skills are not viable
they got
anymore.
support gems, they buffed Act 1. There was so many compounding things that made the game very hostile.
That was just
the
like for
league
me,
where-
so I can understand what you're referring
Yeah.
to, basically.
So that was
right?
the league
Sorry.
where it started. That there's like 6 or 7 viable league starters for most people. That's where it started. Before it was like just choose a skill. You're gonna do okay at least.
This is the first time I feel like I'm on the other side here, because like I've obviously for a long time played super juiced fast builds, right? Like I like Headhunter, Tornado Shot bullshit, but like I don't know, we were getting too fast, and I think they're fine with us being fast. They were just like, now you're taking the piss a little bit too quick. The last time it was that quick as 3.14 before they did the nerfs. The last time it was that quick, we were playing Val Fireball with a Bright Beak on, and they were like, too quick. And then they stopped that, and we still went pretty quick afterward. Just they took the top end down, was like, that's too quick. I feel like it's just the same thing again. They were just like, you're going a little bit too fast. This is too quick. We're going to come back down.
I'd be wrong here.
Right.
I might have to look at videos, but I feel like we've always been like sort of like with the top end builds, we're always really, really fast, no matter where you look in which league. But maybe I'm wrong.
No,
then-
you're right. It's just relative, right? Like there was really quick, and then there was Val Fireball, and then that got nerfed. That was like they were like too much, and then there was still really quick, and then there was the Spirit Helmet. With the spirit charges, where you just,
after that, right? Like there was
and then
always
that
something
got taken out, and then, so
Yeah,
they're always sort of just trying to cap the top end of speed, right? Like they,
but you
they
couldn't
still
really
want us
'cause-
quick.
Yeah, but Tornado Shot and Kinetic Blast were always in the game, so you couldn't really ever cap out on that. You always had like 3 screens destruction skills, always. So I don't know.
And I'm still doing that right now.
Yeah, exactly. But
So like,
how?
I'm just saying the extreme abuse cases of like this is too fast. They keep knocking that off, but they don't ever want to slow us down. They're just like, oh, that's just a little bit too much. We've gone a little bit too hard.
Sure, but you're basically gatekeeping fun in the game because most people can't access that as easily anymore as they were, for example, in 3.14. So you just have to think about, I don't know, is it really great that everybody has to do a league starter, and most of the league starters are so specialized nowadays? If you're playing an off-meta build and you don't know what you're doing, you're basically lost. Is that a thing you want in your game? I'm just concerned about it, honestly. I'm just concerned about it.
I agree. I just think those are different things. I think you've put those two topics together, and they're not the same.
Okay, sure.
Because, like, for instance, I believe if I was trying to balance the game and I was trying to make things fun, it shouldn't matter in Act 1 what skill I picked from the vendor. As a new player, I should be able to clear comfortably the entire first act with any skill available to me without spending a single passive point in Act 1. Like, that's how easy it should
possibly
be.
even with suboptimal gearing and
then it should,
suboptimal
like,
links.
slowly get better, like harder, and you start to be like, oh man, I'm going to need to like figure out why I'm not doing any damage. Oh, support links exist, etc. Right? Like we should be building to that, not starting there. But I think that's a different topic than
maybe I was
nerfing the speed bit.
Yeah, maybe I was a little bit unclear. I guess why I referred to that is also because I feel like the threshold for when fun builds, quote unquote, start has been getting higher and higher ever since 3.15. That is the feeling I get. And overall, I think, like, for example, I think Big Dogs made a really good video about that, actually, about budget builds are a bait. And that's completely right, because everything fun in this game is hidden behind currency. And I just feel like getting there has been harder and harder each league. I see that whenever I make a video, it's like when somebody asks me, can I do this for 50x in 3.14? I could have probably said yes to most of my builds. Nowadays, it's like, no, you need the Ashes of the Stars, you need 70 Exalts, you need this and that. It feels weird.
So, would it be interesting to you to know that I started the entire league in softcore trade with a lightning arrow Deadeye that quickly became a tornado shot Deadeye, and by day 2 in the league with stuff I'd found on the ground was running tier 16 maps at speed with tailwind and everything. Like I was already doing juice with stuff off the floor. So I think that while there are many, many, many skills that I think do need a base buff, the idea that like you can't go quick or you can't have fun off meta, not league start builds, I think that is a thing perpetuated by us collectively as content creators. I don't think it's the truth. I think
The problem is
talking
that
about
you
one of the
are
best
a one of
skills.
a kind player, Balor. You're a one of a kind player. You are like a lot better than everybody else, and you have access to spreadsheets that only have the 0.01% of the player
but I'm not
base. You
using
cannot
them.
expect everybody to play on your level.
No,
There's
but
still people like
he's
me
also
that
talking
just
about tornado
still
shot, right?
suck.
Like tornado
You're
shot is
missing-
one of the best skills in the game, literally. So yeah, I don't know if you could take that as a point. It's like
We're also
I didn't say that you
missing
can't
the
make
point.
any skill. Sorry, good.
We're missing the point there. The point isn't. Oh, I'm good because like I'm as a player. By the way, just absolute trash. Like I can't dodge anything. It's all knowledge base that I have. That's the advantage. Knowledge and time, not actual player. But the more important part is I'm saying there are a bunch of off-meta, non-league start skills that you can do very, very well with.
If
And we're
you
just
have
not
knowledge,
using them.
that's the thing. If you
And-
have knowledge, you can build anything with anything.
Right.
But
But if you don't have knowledge and you just happen to pick seismic trap, you're still going to have a shit time. The only because if you don't build it right, it's still trash. It's still a trash skill. It doesn't matter whether you picked a meta league start. If you don't know anything, it's still trash. The reason that all the new players play the meta skills is because us collectively as content creators have these are the meta skills, and that's what ends up having all of the content and all of the guides for.
No. I
so new players can
completely
follow them.
completely disagree with that. League start skills are skills that inherently, without scaling, are the best skills in the game. It's not just us content creators, it is everybody who contributes to that, right? Everybody. It's not just, it's the forums, it's Reddit, everybody kind of contributes into that. Now, obviously, there's stuff like, I don't know, EA Ballista, where Tuna and I put out a video and everybody is all of a sudden, oh, this is a good skill, and it wasn't really on the radar ever, and it got buffed, blah, blah, blah. But most of those skills are just numerically insane versus all the other skills that need scaling and exalts to be put in to make them good. There's nothing like, oh, seismic trap is only good because content creators like put it out, right? It's like, it's just a really, really good skill, and that's why it's a good league starter. It's not like all of a sudden I'm gonna make a heavy strike build and yeah, it's gonna be good because I'm gonna make it. No, I can't make heavy strike good. No content creator can make it good for a league starter. There's certain skills that are made different, and that's just all it is.
yeah, it's usually also spellcasters that have the advantage because they get the damage from the skill gem itself as you level up. While melee skills are based on the weapon. Like, you can have the best scaling melee skill. If your weapon is trash, you're still going to do trash damage, right? And that's why, like, if I take, like, Stormbrand is actually a very successful league starter since whenever, you know? It's probably not S+ anymore like it used to be, like Stormbrand Inquisitor for racing and stuff like that. But still, like, they are, like, very easy. Like, SS Drain Contagion as well. Like, you can easily take solo self-found SS Drain Contagion into high-tier maps. You're gonna reach a point where you say, like, okay, actually, for this super endgame content, my damage just sucks, you know? And it needs heavy investment to actually bypass this, like, damage breakpoint. But we're still talking about league starters here, right? And I still think that SS Drain Contagion is a very solid and strong league starter. It's just, like, not really strong in, like, if we compare, like, endgame builds, because there is, like, this is already the point where you accumulated currency and you have the option to build whatever you want. So you are comparing, like, different things, right? But from the solo standpoint of saying, like, I have a solo self-found approach in the league start, I not really buy anything. Maybe like a 1 chaos item, some PoE trade to just get myself res cap once I start mapping. You know, so that's why I completely agree with Palsteron on this part.
Palsteron, you said like 50x is now not enough for a build, whereas it would have been like 3 leagues ago.
That's super subjective, right? Like what I find fun and what somebody else finds fun is obviously super subjective.
Fun is always subjective,
like
but there's some overlap between people, right?
Yeah.
There's in the PoE community, especially if we're talking about like the very invested players that consume a lot of the content and watch live streams and stuff like that, read build guides and stuff. No, I mean, as a free-to-play game, the game has a very low entrance barrier, so there's a lot of people just dicking around, not knowing what they're doing, not engaging with the content that is out there, I'm sure. But what I was trying to get at is, would you not agree that this league, for example, it's much easier to make 50x than it would have been 3 leagues ago?
So
I
you're
feel
talking
like
now
the
about
currency is like literally
Yeah.
lying on the ground, like with the Atlas
You're-
passive tree, with essences being so accessible, now with the invitations dropping and selling for 1x each and all that stuff. Like every casual player can make a solid amount of exalted orbs within their playtime. And that may have not been possible as easily leagues ago, which I think that's
yeah.
kind of the reason why the investment barrier is higher.
So you're basically saying that my point of view is a little bit skewed because obviously this league getting exalted is easier than like a few leagues back. I mean, for
I
sure.
wouldn't want to isolate it to just that factor, but look, when you're saying now it's more expensive to get a build going than it was 3 leagues ago, then I would also argue that now it's easier to make currency than it was 3 leagues ago for the average player.
Definitely. I mean, I'm definitely talking about a ratio there that I still feel like a lot less people can actually play my high end builds. That's basically what I'm feeling like. I'm not referring necessarily just to a price point or whatever, because as you pointed out, that's a weird thing to do, right? It's like saying in Heist, wow, builds cost 100 exalts, and it's like, yeah, that's like what, 2 chaos or whatever. So yeah, no, I get completely what you mean. So this is just a feeling that I have, is that less people can actually play my endgame builds, and I feel a little bit more alienated towards players in that way, which is unfortunate. Maybe it's just a feeling and it's not true, but yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking like everybody that knows the game, especially the ones that do like to experiment with like different builds and stuff. Every build can be made budget, like literally every build, unless there is an item that makes the entire thing work, right? For example, you cannot really play a poison sparker on a budget because you need an Ashes of the Star in order to get 100% conversion on your lightning damage to chaos that actually can poison the enemy, right? So that has actually the entrance barrier to say like, either you have an Ashes of the Star or this is not the build for you. And this is like the kind of an issue, right? Because like, even if you say like, yo, what about omniscience? Because it's literally the same thing, right? Because if you don't have omniscience, you don't need 150 stats on your rings, because what for, you know? So yeah, those builds do have like quite a high entrance barrier, but the same thing, like if it's easy to make currency, it does not actually matter if there is leaks, where it's hard to make currency, and there is leaks that is easy to make currency, because it is an open market that is not getting controlled by the game developer. So the easier people make currency, the more expensive the items are going to be. And if people cannot make a lot of currency, then the items will be a lot cheaper as well. You know, like, so I think it doesn't really matter how much exalted per hour people can actually farm, because the easier it will be, the more expensive the same product will be, basically.
Yeah,
Sure.
It's
the market
usually
does even out.
It's usually something more like one of my juiced endgame characters costs me 110 hours worth of farming. And it'll cost me 110 hours worth of farming next league, and it'll cost me 110 hours a year from now. And whatever amount of currency that adds up to is generally around the price of my super endgame character. There's 110 hours of farming to get all the stuff for my super juiced endgame character.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't make a character base that you limit yourself. If you have like 700x on your stash, you're not going to say, okay, my next build will cost me exactly 100x. Dude, if you have 700x here, why not spend 700x, right? So it's always like irrelevant how much currency you have, because if you only have like 110x, you're going to make a build for 110x. And if you have 1000x, you're going to make a build for 1000x. Or you just make a build for 5x because you just don't have more at this point, but you're still going to make it work, right? But that's why I say that's why knowledge is the key in this game. And you can make everything budget unless it has an item in there what you have to make it actually work.
Or even then, that could be a cheap item. Like, I
or
mean,
a
if you have to
specific,
have
like,
shafts.
set
Yeah.
of things, like if you want to build a Transcendence build, like it's not one item. The Transcendence jewel is like 20c, but if you don't have like 90% fizz damage taken as total, then you're screwed and you'll die instantly. Like you need to reach the.
But it's just
sometimes it's more than one item, but it's just that's needed for the build to function. Like you have to do that, otherwise it doesn't work.
Something funny that I picked up, and I don't know if that's true, it's just something that I felt like at the time, is 3.15 was around the time where the community kind of adopted this word bait into the common PoE language as like bait builds, stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people are still stuck in 3.14. Like, for example, I think it's getting better, but there was a time in 3.15, 3.16 where people were kind of stuck in the old ways where they knew a league starter had to be able to do this and this and this. Here comes a league that halves your damage, so now all of a sudden everything's way, way harder. Everything feels shittier. And I felt like that's where the whole like Firegrass debacle, for example, like the tornado shot poison existed. I think that's a really weird precedent as well, just from a content creator perspective. And I don't know if you guys felt that as well. I would love to know, but I felt it heavily.
Well, it depends what kind of content you do. You know, if you are typically being the content creator that says like, yo, here's my top 5 league starters, and this is probably going to work out the best, and people do trust you. And it turns out whatever happens, even if it's not even your fault, if it's just like, because we cannot play like the alpha or a test version of the next add-on to or expansion to test our things, right? All we can do is give our experience and say like, I think it will be good, you know? And if you say you think it's going to be good and people are like, yeah, let's try it out. But the problem is like that most content creators kind of try to sell their builds as, yo, this is the best build. Which is, you don't even know if it's going to be the best build.
But I'm not talking about those kind of people. I'm just talking in general, like the relationship between like content creator and viewer has become a lot more volatile since then. I feel like that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always like, I think like I'm just in a different point of view here just because it's always like how you present your videos. And I think a lot of content creators do want to sell their builds as the undisputed best build, and if it
but we're
turns
not
out
talking about those guys, right? We're not talking about we're talking about YouTubers. We're not talking about certain people, right?
Yeah, of course. But as I say, if I say as an experienced Path of Exile veteran that this build's going to be really strong, and people say like, yo, hey, if mbX says this build is strong, it's going to be strong, and then it turns out it's actually not, you know, then obviously I have to live with the consequence and say like, yo, if I sell the product for being really good and it turned out to not be good, then I also have to live with the hate, right? I think.
Well, that's not true at all. They're just like, you're literally putting something out, they're consuming it, they don't give you shit, they give you ad revenue. You're not like liable for them at all. It's like you thought of something, as long as you don't trick them into playing the build. Obviously, if you say it's like the best build ever, I mean, you tricked them, but otherwise, if you just put out your build and it ends up shitty, like who the fuck cares? Yeah. They made a decision to play your build. That's it. That's your fault.
I make a habit when I'm doing like what my league start build is going to be. My league start builds is like I start my videos with like, this is not a guide. This is a showcase of what I will personally be doing. I do not suggest that you do this. Here's the build I'm running. Here's my plan. Here's my upgrade path. This is what I'm going to be doing. And if people start it and they don't have a good time because they don't have the same amount of time that I've got to play, that's on you, buddy. I said at the beginning, 100%. Don't copy this.
But this is exactly what I referred to, right? It's what you deliver to your community, basically. And if you're selling something as a top tier and it's not top tier, then you have to live with a shitstorm. If you state like, this is my league starter, I'm not sure if this is going to work out, but I'm going to do it anyways, people are not going to hate you at all when the build doesn't work out, because this is literally what you said in the start, right? You said, hey, I'm just like, it's also the same when like there's
you don't have to preface with this though. I don't think you have to preface with that. You don't have to preface with that at all. You played it on stream. If you tested it out, you played it on stream and they can't make it work with the same things that you have, and you made a good enough build guide to give them that info. Most people just take your POV and move on. So why is that your fault? That is not your fault in the slightest. You don't have to preface by saying, "Oh, be careful when you play the build. Just follow the build guide." They don't watch those kind of disclaimers anyways. It's like either they care or they don't care. And if they don't care, they're not going to make the build work. If they care, they're going to make the build work if your build is halfway decent.
Yeah, but if they don't follow the rules and the build doesn't work out, who is getting the shitstorm on?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's something that got accelerated a lot by the game getting harder and harder. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, because I don't think GG should care about, like, I don't know, content creators getting hate. I don't think that should be in their mind. It's just something that I wanted to point out, where in 3.15 I kind of felt like this bait build has been introduced into the PvE language. It was a thing before sometimes, but only with the worst YouTubers. But nowadays it feels like everybody gets that shit. It's crazy.
I feel like I feel like I agree. By the way, I'm also getting that sometimes. I feel like, but it happened because of. I mean, I'm not gonna name drop the like 4 YouTubers that I can think of that are an active problem, because they're also content creators, and that feels like a bunch of drama that I don't fucking want in my life. But there's at least 4 that I can think of off the top of my head that are responsible for that. And like, yeah, we're gonna get it too because it just happens. But like,
I don't think those have always existed though, and it wasn't ever that. To be honest, I wasn't a content creator before 3.14. So maybe I just didn't see it that much. But I felt like there was. I was always kind of like on Reddit and stuff, and it just feels weird nowadays. There's like threads about, I don't know, like, yo, Palsteron's Spark poison build is a bait. Be careful. And then I look at his POB and he doesn't have Phantasmal Spark. It's like, all right, bro. It's like, it's fucking awesome. Like,
yeah, but the problem is, why do you care that much? That's the thing. Like, that's a content creator problem, right? We just always try to satisfy everybody, but it's just not possible. And the sooner you realize that it's not possible, the better it's going to be, right? Because you just say,
I think that's a very slippery slope. What you're basically saying about not caring, I don't think there's a state where you can care about making good content and not care about anybody else's opinion. That just doesn't work. If you care for both, and you have to just suck it up. If you don't care about your content, then it's going to be super easy, right? I don't give a fuck. I throw out my video every day. But if you care, I think you have to take the bad sides with it, and just to pretend like you don't care about the hate is just disingenuous mostly.
I feel like my entire job is to make less experienced players' lives easier. Present good information, be trustworthy, and not mislead people. That's my whole job. I couldn't not care. Like, if I put out a build guide and it ended up being just absolutely terrible, I would internalize all of that feedback. I would hate myself. It would be very upsetting. I would not enjoy it at all. I would be miserable. I would feel guilty. Like, everything I do is to help people. Like, that's the whole purpose. If I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't care about content creation at all. Like, that's the thing that I want to do.
But I do get this point, since Palsteron was referring to that, since the game is getting harder in the baseline, we actually need min-max league starters to make it feel good. And that's like the big, like one of the issues that PoE currently has. As we said before, we all agreed on the fact that the early game should be a lot easier, so we can take whatever. And if I say, yo, Heavy Strike is insane, I'm going to play Heavy Strike Slayer, then I'm going to play Heavy Strike Slayer, and I should not have an issue until I run into maps and be like, dude, I think my character is squishy. I think the damage is bad. How can I fix that? But I also think like one of the biggest issue, and this is something I say since many leagues, right? I still think that this leveling process is like one of the worst cases, because the greater good of Path of Exile, with the sheer endless possibilities that we have. And hey, if I say I want to have a berserk that shoots fireballs that are actually dealing cold damage instead of fire damage, I have the option in PoE to do that. If it's good, well, that's another discussion, right? But I have the option to do that. And I think a lot of more people would like to try out different builds, but they just cannot stand this leveling process. And if they say, yo, I'm going to try out MBX's League Starter and he's playing a Scion or whatever, and they level up the process and they find out it's not their build, they don't like it, they think it's bad or whatever. I should have gone with Palsteron's League Starter because it looks a lot better. But hey, he's playing a Witch and I fucking leveled up MBX's Scion character. So, so there is this problem. If it would be easier to re-roll a character based on like, I do not have to get myself into like a 10 hours worth of campaign to just try a build, I think that would make a lot of things easier, right? And I think that's like what keeps a lot of people back. And if they say like, I'm on a point of the league where like 1 month in, I would really like to try out this custom crit build that MBX is playing, but man, I don't have a Witch. Can I play this as a Saboteur, for example? No, you cannot, right? But then they are like, yeah, well, but I cannot, I don't want to level. I mean, I want to try the build, but I don't want to level. So I think I'm pretty much done with the league. I guess like maybe I'll try it next league, right? So I think like this is something that the PoE just does wrong in that case. I mean, yeah, they care about the story and everything. And But there should be a way to skip that if you have done it before. Like in Diablo 3, you're, or at least it was, I don't know how it works right now, but it was the way that you had to level up a character in a new season in the normal way with a campaign. And once you defeated the end boss, on your next character, you could like access this like adventure mode or whatever, and you could literally start doing maps or rifts on level 1, and you could like skip this entire like questing thingy, because I think the game is like so much more than just finishing your quests and getting your passive skill points.
This is a whole different topic.
Yeah.
This is a whole different thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we kind of moved on from the whole problem with the build expectation. I was curious, do you think there's something specifically that GGG needs to address, or do you identify it as a problem with like the community, or like specifically the viewer content creator relationship? That it's just,
I don't think it's GG specific at all. No, I just threw. I think you were gone. I just threw in a field. Yeah, no.
I was trying to listen on headphones. I had like some disconnects, but I mostly listen. No,
yeah, okay. No, I think I don't think GG should balance around content creators at all. That would be a shit show. No. That's definitely not what I meant with that. Just to be clear.
No, not balance, but I thought maybe there's something that they can do to alleviate that problem that you perceive.
I don't think it's their problem, and I don't think it should be their problem. Yeah,
it's not.
I think they should focus on just making a good game.
That's fair. And then the whole skipping the leveling process. I mean, that's a topic that comes up a lot of times. I'd rather have the leveling process be good than be skippable, because in the end, what I always think is that the focus of the player will just shift on to the next thing they want to skip. There's always going to be a perceived boring part of the build. No matter what they allow you to skip, you'll always perceive the first 10% of your journey something that you want to skip. No matter.
I feel like
what
it's weird. I feel like I can't even empathize all that much, because for me, when I start a build, I'm going to respec into that skill at level whenever I can, no matter how shitty it is. Yeah, and for me, it's just a progression curve, and that the acts belong to that progression curve. It's not like I'm picking up Stormbrand. I'm not going to level with deck stacking until like level 72 and then respec into Stormbrand. That's stupid, right? You just pick up Stormbrand, you have some fun, you get a feel for the skill. A lot of the times you play a new skill. If you start that skill at level 70, you have no idea what you're doing. And having that progression curve and the feel for, like, even just the buttons you press going into maps, I think that's really important. So I understand that people are frustrated, but for me, it's just a mindset where most people think the campaign doesn't even it isn't already a part of the build, which I think it is.
Yeah, but hold on for a second. I am the guy that levels up probably 30, 40 different characters. And if my next character is going to be a Slayer and I already have a Slayer on level 98, I'm still leveling a new character, because I 100% agree with you. The leveling, the campaign process is part of this entire thing. And if this is going to be a Cyclone Slayer, then as soon as I hit like level 28 or something, right, where you get Cyclone, I'm going to play Cyclone. I don't care if it's at this point, Hollow Palm is still better for leveling. I don't care about that fact. I decide it's going to be a Cyclone Slayer, so I'm going to level a Cyclone Slayer. So I can at least tell people, if you plan to play this build, I mean, Cyclone is not the best thing, or even give them tips like, okay, the only thing that Cyclone is viable for doing the campaign, you need minus mana cost, or a Chief's Torment to actually make the thing, right? But the problem that I'm referring to is you cannot expect people to have as much time to play the game as we do. If you play 10 hours a day, what is like leveling up a character to like level 70 when you start a new character, right? It's like 5 hours, 6 hours, depending on your leveling gear and how good your leveling will be, right? But it's half a stream, basically, where you just level it. And that's fine for us because we have the time to play if we want to 100 hours a week, right? But for the people that have limited time and they only have like 15 hours a week to play on the weekends, right? And then thinking like, okay, I have 15 hours time. I can play Saturday evening and Sunday the entire day. And I will pretty much spend the entire weekend trying to get into maps and new character. I think that is a problem. And that should be kind of like, I mean, not on League Start, obviously, because we all enjoy the League Start, right? But I think there should be something where you could make this process faster going on after League Start.
Well, there are tons of things that are there. There, you can have other people carry you. You can have people like give you waypoints. You can use leveling gear. There's a number of things that will speed up the leveling process on subsequent characters.
Every time I level a new character, there are some notable exceptions. There are like some things that just don't work until you're like level 80, but those are very like exception cases. In general, the moment the skill becomes available, I start playing it.
100%.
And my leveling process basically feels like Alkengo mapping. The whole thing is just mapping. I don't understand why people hate it so much. But I also had ideas for how to have alternate leveling methods, but none of them should be mapping because that's the end game content. You don't want to start that at level 1. That takes away from its identity and also makes you burn out and get bored of that quicker. And none of it should be skippable. You shouldn't skip leveling. Right?
I mean, technically,
but
you do mapping
other
once.
ways. There could be other ways to level. So my ideas happened when we had Endless Delve and Endless Heist. And I thought these could easily be alternate ways to level. For instance, you could have some kind of like token you could buy with sulfite, say 30,000 sulfite, like a good chunk. And if you buy that, then you could use it on a brand new level 1 character and be like, boom, and that character would get locked into Delve. It wouldn't be able to go back into the quests. It wouldn't do anything until you got to level 68. You would just be stuck in Delve, and you would come out level 68 with all of your passive points, Katavas, Ascensions that you would normally get during questing, and you would do all the stuff like in Endless Delve. When you get to X level, you just talk to this thing, boom, you're ascended to a normal lab. When you get to this level, Kur lab. When you get to this level, Merc lab. And then you would just be stuck in there, unable to leave until level 68. Boom, you can go do maps, right? You could do the same thing for something like Heist. It could be, 40,000 rogue markers or some shit. Like some level of, I've done some investment in an endgame character, and I've bought this thing that'll let me level an alternate way. And that would be okay. But any version of like skipping it or not having to invest in an ultimate thing would take away from a lot.
I wouldn't
be fine with being able to skip Kitava and being able to skip like the passive point bosses, because most of those are harder than what you can do on a level 68 character. Especially, I mean, unless you leveled ineffectively and you overleveled your gems. But if you're rushing to level 68, like
so
you might not want to do Valenta and Yugo and all the harder side quests and stuff like that.
I mean, on I'm just
thinking it's super efficient and easy to get to 68 on Delve, and it would save too much time if you were like bypassing.
Yeah, so
I'm just wondering why we want to bypass it in the first place. Isn't it nice to have like a skill set that's different to just endgame blasting? People who are good at leveling
at all.
I think it's nice if people who are good at leveling, like Tai are just stomping everybody's ass. I think that's fine. They worked for it. It's a different kind of skill set. And I mean, this game has a lot of different skill sets. Somebody who's good at delving might not be good at like mapping, stuff like that. It's like, I think that's totally fine to exist. And that's from somebody who sucks at leveling. I think it's totally fine that I get completely stomped by everybody. I think it's awesome that there's more out there than just like being efficient at endgame. And getting ahead early on a league start, I think that's something that should be like a skill set, maybe. I think it's. I mean, obviously, you're not talking just about league start. I get what you mean, but just like leveling characters. If you want to do 40 characters, honestly, you can find a lot of good resources out there. Like you watch some Tai runs, you're gonna get way faster. For example, I don't know. I like it as a skill set.
I like it in general as a thing that is in the game that no, I lost my point. No, but like what you said when you started your point, like why would you want to skip it? Like let's rather address the reason why people want to skip it and make it something that people don't want to skip rather than allowing them to skip it completely. I'm fine with like some level of skipping, but honestly, like what you have available in softcore trade at this point is already insane in terms of skipping. Like if you have friends who are willing to give you waypoints, if you have like people who are willing to carry you through labs, the amount of time that you can save leveling a new character into maps is crazy.
The amount of time you can save just having twink gear is crazy. 50% movement speed boots? Like what?
Yeah, and Mage Blood on level 40 makes it super good too, because like you're gonna have like 300% movement speed by nature, but you know that who has things like that? But I'm just saying, like I remember a friend of mine. It was a couple leagues ago though, but he really was into like playing. Was it a Void Forge build or was it a Star Forge build? I don't know, but as soon as he hit like Act 3, I think, you know, where you unlock the Delve basically, or was it Act 4? I don't care. He made this like project to level up his character in Delve to level 68 to then equip his like Starforge, Voidforge build, whatever he had, right? And then go back and finish Act 3, 4 until Kitava. And it took him like a lot longer actually than just going through the campaign and start delving afterwards, right? But
Obviously,
he was literally being
still
like
have to
level
walk
70.
the entire distance, and movement speed is the limiting factor there. You still have to walk through the acts. But if you had someone who gives you all the waypoints.
Yeah, but that requires you to have friends, and you know, like on an internet thing where people have social anxiety, you don't have friends to give you waypoints. But you could probably find one TFT.
Here's the thing, and this is, at least in my opinion, the actual reality. Catmaster hit on it earlier. It needs to be hit harder. People in general are going to hate the weakest point of their builds. And that leveling process, compared to even a casual playing the game, is 10 to 15% at most of the time that they are going to spend playing that character. And if you made a button so that they could just skip to level, let's say 65, and be done with the axe and be like, boom, I can enter maps now, then people would hate the levels from 65 to 85 because they don't have enough passive points and it's not the power level. And if you make a button to skip that, people will hate the leveling process from 85 to 90 because I can't fit in my cluster jewel yet. My build's not there. And it doesn't matter what area you let people skip. They're going to hate the front part. They're always going to, and they're always going to complain. There isn't a solution to that.
And to some degree, that's also the game. Like overcoming shortcomings of your character by like progressing it to get it to the point where it feels good is the game, right? Like if you start with a fully, like with a build that already feels good, that moves fast, that clears fast, that bosses decently, and it is tanky, then there would be no game because making that character is the game.
Yeah, but I agree here, Balor. Like everything you said, like it makes so much sense. And as you said, like if they don't compare, like if they fix something they complain about right now, they're gonna find other things to complain. So it's just a chain reaction. And it's a never-ending story because people will always dislike things.
Yeah, you're just gonna hate the first 10 to 15% because you know how powerful you can be later. And if we move where the first 10 to 15% is, they're just gonna hate that front bit. Like there's nothing.
Yeah, true.
Like
true. I agree.
Here's the one thing that I am confused about with leveling ults. There have been other times where there were amazing twink items that you couldn't make until you'd made it to endgame, and they took them away. And it's happened a few times, and I don't understand it. I don't think there's any problem with any amount of disgusting power you can give low-level characters. For instance, there used to be Delve fossil gloves, where you could add like 150 flat damage to gloves.
But they got
flat damage with hacks and spells. And I'm like, but you needed like deep fossils to do that. And so you never had it on a league start. It didn't ruin the league start experience. It didn't have any effect on that at all. It could only possibly be used on twinks. And the power level fell off so much that by the time you got to white maps, that entire glove setup was barely worth the same as a herald. Like it wasn't powerful by the time you got to maps. That's the perfect level for twink gear. What? And so many things like that have been taken out. It doesn't make any sense. Just leave those things in. Put them back. Give me more twink options for my ults.
I would
like to be able to play heavy strike and level with it because the gloves make it so disgusting that I can just put Ancestral Call on and run around with heavy strike for fun. Right? I should be able to do that on an ult, on a twink, where I've crafted twink gear to level I could put on whatever the hell I want and do whatever I want because it's fun.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
That historically or in general, like the players, including ourselves, like are just very, very good at remembering the things that have been taken away and forgetting the things that we've been given. Because, for example, like a couple leagues ago, having that chick Lily in the hideout and giving you gems that normally you'd have to do library or wait till Act 5 for, and now you can just get them right at the start. That saves so much time leveling a new character.
Absolutely.
I mean, previously you could buy them from another character if you had
that was an
one
awesome change. Yeah.
in maps, but especially in hardcore, if you're rolling a new character after your only one character died, it was very, very frustrating not being able to get the gems, and now we can just get them independent from your other characters. And that already saves so much time off of like leveling characters.
I literally just realized that I'm still doing the library. Go back to my stash, take like a bunch of alteration, augments, regals, whatever this Ciosa wants to have. But you just told me that I could just go
to buy gems.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I just take everything because some need like a wisdom scroll, some need an augmentation, some need an alteration. So I take once of every single thing. And you're like, yo, you could just actually go to your hideout, buy the gems of Lily. And I'm like, wait, I'm actually stupid. And there's so much power there that I could use, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm like an average player. I'm fine with that. It's still like part of it, right? To know library, I need to do this because I can buy or I get like 45 or some shit. But yeah.
It's really hard to get rid of old habits, right?
Yeah, true.
I'm not gonna lie, I never did library even before we had that. I just hated library so much. It took away so much time. The time that you gain from like getting the right support gem from library, you lose by having to do library. I just went all the way to Act 6 and buy my shit there. I just never ever did it.
Depending on how early you arrive there, it's kind of nice to get the extra experience. And
you arrive there when you get to library. What do you mean? You can't get there any earlier.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like depending on how over-leveled or under-leveled you are, it may be okay to get the experience. It's not that much of a waste of time. And for some builds, it was really mandatory to get the gem.
By the time you go do library and buy your library quest with my slightly less efficient gem setup that I have, I've already made it to Act 4, killed one of the side bosses, and I'm halfway to the second side boss by the time you finish library. Like, it's ridiculous. The thing takes way too long. You lose time. There's no way it's worth it.
It depends on how you see leveling. Like for me, even though this is like my 18th league and I have like 12,000 hours, every single character has to have all waypoints, all main quests, all side quests. Like if I'm about to kill Kitava, right? Let's say I'm Act 10. I'm about to just open this portal where I could go to Kitava, right? I go to my waypoint and I go back to Act 1 and check. Did I visit every single zone? Did I collect every single waypoint? Did I do every single quest? You know, like
you should say you wanted a way to skip leveling. Why are you doing all of this shit to yourself?
Because I just like completion, and that's the way I play the game. And if I level 30 characters, I mean it the way when I say I do every single quest, side quest, waypoint. If the campaign thing is not 100% completed, you know, then. Dude, I get like, dude, no, that fucks me off, dude. I go back and I spend another hour, dude. I don't care.
You should see MB color his items. Then you would know. You would not be like question marking right now. I'm just saying. That's all you need to see. All right.
Okay, so just for a small explanation, right? Let's assume you have an item that needs 3 red, 2 blue, and 1 green, okay? I just don't live with anything. It needs to be 3 red on the start, then it needs 2 green, and the last one has to be blue because it's visually appearing the 6 link, right? If it's like 1 green, double blue, and then 3 red, I'm overrolling this because it looks terrible. So I'm going either, like, check my gear here. I have white sockets, a lot of them, because that means it's fine, okay?
It's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the way I play the game. And yes, I lose a lot of currency while doing that, but if it brings satisfaction to me, that's fine, you know? So...
Look, listen, the right way to play the game is the way that you're having fun. So if you do what you want to do, but I don't think you get to do stuff like that and complain about the leveling process. I'm just saying.
Hey, we don't skip things, you know? When there's a waypoint, you got to collect it. Like, you open your map, you open your portal, right? And you see that there is an icon where you missed your waypoint, but you have the other waypoint after that and that one before. So it feels like, there is something missing.
I can just imagine MB farming ledge until he gets the right combination of, like at League Start, the right combination of colors for his free link. I can just imagine.
No,
It's like, sorry, this needs to be blue, blue, green. This is blue, green, blue. I'm gonna have to stay here.
Unplayable.
Unplayable. Exactly. I mean, it's not that bad on League Start because I don't care because I don't have the funds to fix it, right? But how often I remember this one chefs. Essence Drink Contagion usually needs 3 blue, 2 green, 1 red for the Empower, the Swift Affliction stuff, right? And I was
How do you
sitting
know
here.
what Essence Drain Contagion needs? Is that something you ever play?
I've played Essence Drain Contagion like
Tons of
dozens of times. It's my most played build. I even played in this league as well. And it took me over 3,500 chromatic orbs to get 3 blue, 2 red, 1 green. Because if the red one is somewhere on the start, I'm overrolling that. I don't care, and that's why I have to do it off stream. Because people get so fucking mad about it when I overroll, and I said like, yo, I need blue, blue, green, and it rolls blue, green, blue. And they said like, yo, you just overrolled. I was like, no, I did not. I said I want blue, blue, green. I never said I want to have blue, green, blue,
Oh boy.
So you keep on clicking at that piece of entire chat. And I'm like, dude, I'm not happy with this item. It's shit. Blue, blue, green, or are we not going to play with this? Fuck this.
Oh.
To be fair, like some new players think that you actually, like, in order for support gems to affect the gems that they're linked to, that they have to be linked in the socket next to the skill gem.
It's always the same. Does it actually matter? No, it does not. It's true. But some maybe think it does, yeah. So
and maybe you're reinforcing that belief with what you're doing. So it's
maybe
good
I'm
you're
just
doing
keeping the prices high on chromatic orbs. Like maybe I'm just an influencer on the market.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
What Chad said there. If the main skill isn't top left socket, it does feel wrong. Yeah. I also like to have my swap gem to be on the last socket. So if I swap something for single target, I like to. But I'm not super set on it. But that's maybe because in HCSSF I just don't have the resources always to get the exact colors that I want.
I don't think I've ever cared once about any of the things that you mentioned here. If the gems go in the sockets, I'm good. I'm good. The item's done.
Okay, want to hear it even worse. When I go search an item for my endgame character, and we're talking about spending like 300x an item here, right? If this item has the perfect stats, and it does not sell much more to vendors, which is a gilded fossil, I'm not buying that. I'm crafting this my own, because this is the thing that I need. 100% perfect baseline item, 30% quality, item level 86, and then we start crafting. If this item sells much more to vendors is missing, I feel like the item is not worth a lot, So
that's good on bases that have like an own implicit, because then you can corrupt it and maintain the
I actually hate that mod. I absolutely despise that mod. Like it feels so unclean. Like the item sells more to vendors. It doesn't feel clean. Like it's like 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes, 1 or 2 implicits, and then there's this thing in between. It's also very like wide. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. I don't know. I don't get it.
With Palsteron, I actually hate it. I'd sometimes go as far as paying maybe even 5% more to have one that didn't have that on it.
Same.
Probably only like 5 or 10% more. Like I wouldn't pay double to get it. I'm not that about, but like I'll buy the slightly more expensive one that doesn't have items, sell more to vendors on it.
Wow, and I'm literally the opposite. I'm literally paying, like, if there is boots for 15x and there is the same boots for 30x, but the 30x one have the item sells much more to vendors, I mean, I'll probably ask the 30x guy and be like, yo, can you do 25, So, but yeah, there is like these kind of people that I'm actually the person that cares about having quality on their enlightened gems, because a 420 just looks a lot better than a 4.0.
Oh my god, you're the guy who leaves my party because I give you because I give you a 318.
Yes,
dude,
I do that.
Come 320.
I'm the first guy that says like, just give me the gem I whispered you for, not just any gem.
I'm gonna tell you what.
I want this.
Tell you what. I might have you on ignore.
Yeah, that's insane.
I ignored like 15 people this league because like, I gave you the wrong level 3 corrupted enlightened. Fuck off. It's the same gem.
Yeah, but why don't you just give me the item that I picked you for and not just
because we leveled 20, we priced 1 and we're just randomly picking out. We don't hate you. It's just like that's all it is.
It's 1 for sale. There's 20 in the tab beside it. I don't sell the for sale one because then I have to price another one. That's a pain in the ass. I just pick one from the tab of level 3s because I've flipped and leveled
then you're
in light
scamming me.
3 times today, and there's 14 to go.
But then you're literally scamming me, dude.
I do get MB side as well. It's like if you pay for 23 quality on your, I don't know, level 3 Enlighten, I get it. It looks cool. If it looks cool, like you're paying for it and you want to get it. I get it. But
I don't see
it's
why
still
would
really
you buy
annoying
a
as fuck.
level 3 Enlightened to begin with?
Well, because they're cheaper and you can't afford a level 4.
They're infinitely cheaper.
Also, if your build only needs a level 3, my 500 XMF build has a level 3 on. Like, I can afford
Because
a level 4. In
wouldn't
fact,
make a
I've
difference.
sold like 7 level 4s, but I have 38 mana and my skill costs 6 mana and I have like 14 mana on hit. So I don't need any more mana than that. So level 4 would do nothing for me. So I keep selling the level 4s.
I feel like I'm getting scammed here a little bit here.
It's all right. You won't get scammed from me because the first time you rock up and leave my party because the quality on your Enlighten is wrong, I will ignore you and you won't be able to.
Yeah, but
trade
it's
me
fine
again.
because I don't want to buy items from scammers anyways, because I whispered you for a certain item and you give me another item, which is in my understanding a scam. Just give me the item I whispered you and it's in position 12-8 on your Enlightened
it even
3
says
tab.
the position
It
on the
says
trade
where it
request.
is, you just have to pick it. But no, you refuse. You're being a dick and being like, yeah, I'm going to take one of my quad tab of Enlighteners and give you the wrong one, Like, be happy that gems, or I could be happy too, that gems do not have an item level, because then I would whisper you for an item level 86
Okay,
Enlightened 4
item
with
level?
20%.
I'll tell you
I
what
would
I've
do
started
that.
doing.
You're the
I
reason
started
trade
it.
sucks, MB. You're the reason we need an auction
Yeah.
house, all right?
Yeah,
I'm just
Here's the
saying.
thing. I'll tell you what I've started doing, and Palsteron, this will help. This is what I've started doing. I've started taking my 17 quality Enlightens and making sure that that's the one that I price.
Yeah,
And as soon
I
as
do that.
started doing
I do
that,
exactly
no
the same
one
thing.
shows up upset
Exactly.
anymore.
I put the worst one in, and it doesn't change anything because every normal person is still gonna buy it. And then, if they get a 23, that's an upside for them if they
They
care.
don't
But
care. No one cares.
Nobody,
As long as
nobody
you
cares.
price
Yeah.
the worst quality one and you only keep that one there, no one cares. You
Okay,
don't get the weird people.
And what if they are born on the 17th of March? And that's why they want to buy your level 3 Enlightened with 17 quality, because it reminds them of their birthday. And then you still give them the wrong
goal
one.
list,
Like,
Perfect.
buddy.
You just
Go
put a
podcast,
weirdo on
Facebook.
ignore. You just put a weirdo on ignore. That's like peak.
Yeah,
actually,
That's
toxic.
peak ignore efficiency. That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a time where people corrupted 19% quality tabulas to link it to me just to piss me off, because I cannot stand anything more. Remember the perfect fossil when there is up to 30% quality, and people are like, yo, I just got 29% quality. That's absolutely fine. I'm like, bro, 29% quality is if there is no quality on it. Either it's 30 or you keep on going, and
You do know why people go for 28 quality, right, MB?
I don't care. It's not 30. It's not perfect. I'm not going to buy this. Even if it's for free, I don't care.
why? Just because 30 requires perfect fossils or mastermind, or
The
No,
thing is,
28
like,
is
nowadays you can harvest craft. I do 30% quality from Hillock, right?
There's
But back in the days there was.
There's mods that go in 4s. So 28 is the highest you can get, and it doesn't matter if you have 28 or 30.
yeah,
doesn't
no,
do-
for the
Yeah.
1% increased AOE per 4% quality,
Yeah.
but that doesn't apply to like 90% of the items, right? Like, I mean, you usually have like
No, I was just saying, like, sometimes people have like 28 or 29 on items that are just like,
Yeah,
that seem
makes sense.
incredibly
completely
good.
fair.
That's why. Yeah.
But I still fix it with 30% because it's perfect. But I think this is like a complete different topic. But
I actually don't like that Hillock does 30% quality. I really liked when 30% quality was only something you could achieve prior to crafting, and then when the item was already crafted, then you had to settle for 28. I kind of like that, but it's such a minor difference and such a small aspect of the game. It doesn't kill the game for me entirely. So it's still playable somewhat.
Yeah, I don't think I care about any of that. if it's in like intervals of 4, 28, 29, 30, same thing.
I mean, I leveled characters to 100 without putting MTX on. So, like, I also.
why do I even talk to you, man? I'm so
I
done
do
with
that.
this podcast already.
I'm still a naked. I'm
It's
still naked.
I leveled to level 96 and then took off all my MTX to finish the leveling process.
Nice.
Why do I even talk to people like you? It's just,
It doubled my performance. Taking off all my MTX made my performance better. That's the thing that matters.
So you played Aura Stacker.
No, just my MFR. It was the armor MTX. I actually ended up putting back on the Kinetic Blast MTX because it didn't have a bad performance problem. But I had to take off all my armor MTX because it was costing me frames. I'm not interested in it costing me frames. See you later, buddy.
Yeah, but that's like the thing. My most bought MTX in the shop is the Vanquishing MTX. Because I never run any auras. I always disable the auras from the visuals, right? I have the auras, but I always disable them because I think like in the game currently with the mana reservation efficiency and everybody has like a bunch of auras, like your character always looks like a Christmas tree.
You also have to have invisible banners because otherwise those
banners are so bad.
I have like 25 vanquishing thingies for auras because back in the days when I played Aura Stacker, I needed that many, right? Because you had like 20 auras or.
Yep.
Banners were an inside job that was planned. They implemented those incredibly powerful buffs at 10% reservation just so they could sell these invisible buff effects.
100%.
I'm convinced.
I mean, for example, I'm a pay pig as well, but it's with stash tabs. I have like 40 quad tabs or something.
Oh yeah, I have so many quad tabs.
Yeah.
But I use like 15 quad tabs just for like rotating dump tabs that I don't even look at.
You need it, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always like
before. Do you guys remember before Affinity how many stash tabs you needed to do like dump tabs for farming? That's when I bought that many. I wouldn't even need 40 nowadays. I think it would be 30 on like.
And at the end of the day, you go in currency and pick up all the currency. Then you sell like maps and you pick up all the maps.
And then some maps are not actually maps, and then you have to like first search for scarabs, and that it's such a it was the worst.
Oh, I mean, now that you brought up affinities, there's something that I'm not sure I brought it up on the podcast before, but it's something that's been frustrating me to no end, and I've been thinking about bringing it up on the podcast, and that is, why are certain affinities only gated behind like the specific, like the heist locker and the other lockers? I want those affinities on regular quad tabs and regular tabs, so I can like. Oh, it's so frustrating that the Sentinel affinity cannot be placed on like a regular tab and all that.
And the reason for me is so that I could price the stuff I'm never going to run for sale and just put it in a dump tab affinity. Just take it. I can't sell from those tabs. They're useless to me.
Yeah, true.
I'm never going to run Expedition.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Yeah, and then if you're already like, the game is already admitting that it's sort of selling me accessibility, quality of life, or even like some sort of, pay to win to some degree, like some power for stash tabs. And then I don't see why, as someone who paid for it, why I'm not able to then use those affinities if they're already technically implemented in the game.
I agree, yeah.
Although, it would make the advantage that pay players have slightly bigger, but I don't know.
Well, it's always funny in League Start, for example. You start the league and you don't have anything, right? And then you're opening your stash and you're like, why the fuck do I have 40 quad tabs and like 70 normal tabs and every special tab twice or 3 times? You're just opening your wallet and it's empty and you're like, bro, what the fuck, But then as the league continues and as a content creator and you do like 100 Sentinel, like 100 simulacrums or whatever, then you understand now I remember why I needed so many tabs and whatever, But
you need all the special tabs twice so you can like track the currency you made after 100. Yeah, that's like.
And then like 3 weeks in, you're like, "Fuck, when's the next stash tab sale? I need another one of these."
We need more. We need more.
The thing is, when you don't wanna like look through your dump tabs, and you're like, so either I can keep farming and just buy a new stash tab, or I have to actually stop farming. That's the.
So like, man, all my dump tabs are full. I'll just buy a new quad. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, could be making 400 exalts right now, but I could also just wait.
In the last 3 leagues, I did not buy a single stash tab. So I actually reached my point where I said, like, I think I have enough tabs. As of right now, at least.
Same. I mean, wait until whatever league they put out, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys remember Synthesis? Did anybody go hard on Synth, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Synthesis? Do you remember how many bases. I hoarded so many. I mean, I had two friends that I play with. We hoarded so many bases just in case something gets like made or whatever. It was insane.
In case someone found another thing like light radius, and you're like, oh, that garbage mod suddenly is worth money, and it just tabs and tabs and tabs full of bases.
I don't think there was a what's a better trading? I don't think there was better trading back then. I don't remember though. Was there an app for it, or was it just annoying? I don't remember.
I think it was just annoying.
Yeah. I think I had all like literally bookmarked everything. That's what I did. Yeah.
I do remember having more than my full screen worth of bookmarks. Like I click a thing and then there'd just be like a list of bookmarks for PoE Trade. You're like, oh shit, which one did I want? There it is.
That was such a stressful
didn't
week.
exist then either, which
I really
trading
like
saved my life, by the way.
Yeah, I really didn't like that league that much. It was kind of annoying to make a good item and then 1 week later there's going to be a better one. It was kind of weird. I never really wanted to craft anything.
I really liked the last month of that league.
Yeah, I didn't play that. Yeah, so that was probably why.
That's when it was good. It was both. Synthesis is both the worst and best league I've ever played.
Yeah,
it was the worst league at the beginning and the best league in the last month.
I can imagine. So I made the first. Back then, I put stuff on Reddit sometimes. I made the first percentage intelligence, damage per 15 intelligence Emmy, and I remember just knowing, like, people were asking me if I wanted to make a mirror item out of it, and it was just like, no, because I know what's going to happen in 2 weeks. There's going to be a way better one. There's going to be like one with 50% max energy shield or whatever on it. And it was kind of weird. And then I just did fracture fossil jobs for, I don't know, like a week or whatever. That's why I think if you were somebody who played through the whole league, you definitely have a different experience.
Yeah. The final month was the best league I've ever played in a long. Well, this league's coming close. I'm really enjoying it, actually.
The league itself not, but I think the aspect of recombinator crafting is similar to synthesis crafting, but better done.
Yeah, that might be why I like it so much. But yeah, if you quit before the third month, synthesis was the worst league. It was so bad.
But that is a great segue because we haven't talked at all about this league. mbX, have you used any Sentinels?
He's not even here.
He's gone.
I am here. I'm listening. I'm not. I'm just standing.
Yeah, he's hearing us still, but
I'm even screaming from there. So I'm just how you say, I play every single league and I do all of my challenges, but I cannot remember ever being heavily invested into a league mechanic. I play it in a certain degree where it's fine for me. That means I did use Sentinels. I still use Sentinels up to this day. But I just figured out for the way that the builds that I play, I'd rather just have the red thing that I pop in the start, that it just toggles so long and gives me some extra loot, but I'm not like doing it like Palsteron, summing up hordes of monsters and using the blue sentinel and then blow everything up. So I can say I always play the leagues, but I never play this in depth that I say like I need to make strategies. I'm actually rolling my sentinels. I think I just rolled sentinels and recombinated them with the power cores or whatever, right? For the challenges, but I just never tracked PoE, or I never really check either of any of the mods. I just have on my loot filter only rare sentinels, and whatever it has on, I pop in and I run with it until it's empty. I throw it away and then pick up the next one because I have so many sentinels, right?
Wait, so you don't care at all about the mods that they have, or?
No, absolutely not. No, but that's why I say I play all the league mechanics, but only to a certain degree, but not like heavily invested. And if I think back, even in synthesis, yes, I did like synthesize some of my items, but I was never the guy hoarding bases and trying to get the most broken synthesized base or something like that. And as I say, like, even if I remember back, I don't think I was ever heavily engaged in any league mechanic. I used them, but on a base level, I would say.
That's fair. How's your take on it, Palsteron? Have you been doing a lot of Pandemonium Sentinel farming?
I think Sentinel is one of the best league mechanics ever made. It's basically everything I wanted Tormented Spirits to be. It is... Mm-hmm. I absolutely love this league, other than the Arch Nemesis at the start. I think this league is fucking awesome. Everything about it is awesome. I love Sentinels. I don't even know what to say about it. I care deeply about it, and it's one of the worst leagues to not be interested in the league mechanic because everybody's going to have absurd amounts of currency, but you. That's basically what it is. Like the mapping, Elk and Go has never been. It has been good before, but never been this good before. Like last league, the reason why Elk and Go is so huge now. I mean, it was always huge. It's just that people think juicing is so much better for some reason, and Elk and Go is like a beginner strat or whatever. But last league with the Atlas passive tree, there was so much more incentive to go Elk and Go. And this league, Sentinel is just like the thing on top. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. It's so much fun as well.
When I super juice my double beyond fucking 100% delirious maps, and those take 2x to launch.
Yeah,
I'm still getting 15% to 20% of my returns from running the Sentinels. Which means if I ran an Elk and Go map, that 20%, even if the map drops nothing, that 20% of the return is still coming from the Sentinel.
I tried after the Glacier strat, which I made like between 10 to 12x per hour. I tried doing Tropical Islands, and it was so much worse, it's not even funny. And it took me like way more investment. So I think Elk and Go is really big right now, and people, like, I don't think people are sleeping that much anymore, but I just think it's pretty funny. Like, Elk and Go is in such a nice place. Yep. If you don't want to buy anything, it's awesome. I didn't buy a single, not kidding, I didn't buy a single Sentinel this league. Everything self-sustains just by recombining them again and again with the cores.
Longest streak?
For Expedition? Or what do you mean? Expedition rewards?
Well, for whichever Sentinel.
I think 5. I kept an Expedition 5 times in a row, and I even got a random Sentinel rewards on top of it at one point. And then I got a good base, and that's where I was like, oh, now it's going to break, and then it bricked.
11.
11, that's crazy.
11? But it started tier 1, and then it went like tier 2, tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Like it jumped up and down, but I kept Expedition for 11 goes.
Wait, you want to tell me that recombining Sentinels works the same way as recombining items, that you can like keep stats alive this way?
Huh?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yes. See, I didn't even know after 50 days of the league. That's why I say I
keep intentionally looking for bad blue Sentinels that have like increased number of mobs and increased charges, so that I can mix them with my good Sentinel that's about to expire that has like tier 1 Sentinel and tier 2 ritual reward, or not ritual, expedition reward or whatever. And I'm like, this is a really good one. So I'll find one with just prefixes and I'll like mix them together and be like, yes, saved it again. Let's go.
Wait a second, Palsteron, you made a video about that, right? How to roll your Sentinels. And I opened it, it was like 30 minutes, and I was like, bro, I don't have the time for 30 minutes right now.
It's just a 5-minute section at the end. Grim has some good content, and Firegrass has some good content about it.
Yeah, I'm like a casual noob, right? So, but it's fine for me. But then we come back to the topic where you say like, that everybody has his approach to the game and follows this way of the level of satisfaction it gives, right? And if you are like, yo, I want to like try out the new league mechanic and play it on a full extent, I personally don't really care about the league mechanics overall. I care about the base game and trying out 30 different builds, right? And you say like, yo, I'm fine with like, I'm a build creator. I do like to make my own builds, but I only try to make like 5 really good builds while I'm sitting here making like 20 mediocre builds, right? So at the end of the day, it only depends on what is your goal in the game and what brings the most fun to you, and that's the way that you follow, right? So I don't really say something negative about somebody that says like, yo, my thing is like, yo, I like to run 10,000 Uber laps per league, and I'm like, bro, I'm frustrated with running 4 every character, right? So you cannot judge that, I think.
Once.
Yeah, but I say like, you cannot really judge if somebody is just not as interested in the league mechanic or in any type of content like somebody else is.
But you also have to realize that most of them, I mean, nowadays maybe not as much anymore, but a lot of the times they get merged into the main game, and then it kind of is part of the main game. And if you already know how they work, then you don't have to do the work after, right?
Yes.
That makes sense. That's also cool. But the way I play the league is usually I don't care too much about like finding out in the first few days how a league mechanic works. I usually just copy my homework from Grimbro right at the start. And then I'm just like, after that, I need this jump start at the start where Grimbro is just a god. And then with that knowledge, I just go and apply it. That's basically what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me too. I barely even really use them before Grimro tells me what to do, to be honest. I'll press the button occasionally here and there, but I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah, there's words. Okay.
Yeah, I've connected things in my controller. I didn't really know what they're doing. I'm too busy progressing until Grimro does my homework for me. And then I go, cool. How long is this one? 20 minutes. Cool. I'm actually going to watch this whole 20-minute video. Then we're going to understand the league mechanic, and then we'll go back in and we'll use it.
Yep.
But isn't it exactly something in hardcore solo cell phone, but people just skip league mechanics entirely because they don't know how dangerous they are, and usually they start using the league mechanics somewhere at mid-tier maps when they say okay, I established a good character, I have my levels of defense, let's use some of the league mechanic, because when I see
instantly die because they underestimate it, because they haven't engaged with it at all.
And that's another reason why I could just not play hardcore, because if I want to first Sentinel, I'm going to use that, right? And we figured out pretty fast how strong some of these Sentinels dudes are getting, and in the end of the day, every map boss felt like a joke compared to some of the rare monsters within a map that had a Sentinel mod on it. And I remember some viewers asking me I need a carry for my Sentinel dude, right? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? And they juiced up an Essence monster with 8 mods with the Sentinel, and he was unkillable.
Yeah.
I was running a 2-3 mirror build, and I was going in, I could just go one shot. I was like, wait a second. What
have you done?
Yeah. And then you fight this monster, and he's 50%, and then you randomly die to some one shot, and then you come back, he's full again because he has so much regen and whatever, and you're like, bro, this is an uber boss, holy shit, dude. It's insane.
Yep.
The challenge where you had to use the unique Sentinels. Yo, these bosses are brutal, man. No way anybody can actually do this with a mediocre build. It's no way.
I've only done the park map boss so far. That seems to be the most common one. Or I don't know.
Yeah, but Duedre, for example, in Wastepool or something.
I need to check those out. I didn't get the unique Sentinels. I don't know. Maybe I didn't recombinate enough, although I do recombinate quite a bit.
I'm always pissed when I get a unique one. It's wow, I have my expedition one and now it breaks. Wow, unique. Awesome.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the power level of these monsters is beyond everything. I couldn't actually say, Duedre in this unique form in an empowered version, you could actually put this NPC to something like an Uber Elder, and I wouldn't even sure who's going to win this fight, because it's so crazy how strong these monsters get.
We should have really made at the start when they when Arch Nemesis was that crazy. They should have really made an invitation for 5 essence mobs that had 7 essences in it. It would be 5 times as hard as Feared. That would have been fun.
8 essence corrupted mobs. Yep. At least 10 at once. Go.
That's brutal, yeah. But it's the power creep, not only for the players, but also, and this is the problem that we referred to before, right? That the game is getting sometimes ridiculously hard, and even we as experienced Path of Exile veterans, even we say, holy shit, that was hard. So I cannot even expect somebody that doesn't have a top tier build, and he encounters one of these and he just pops his unique Sentinel because it's a challenge, and then they're like, what is this?
Yep.
What the hell?
Bro. Just skip rares, bro. It's that easy. That's what Reddit told me.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Have you capped resistance, by the way?
Yeah, all right. We got only a few minutes left. Time flies when you're having fun. Quick, would you like to have Sentinels go core? How would you feel about them going core, replacing potentially Tormented Spirits?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Put them on the Atlas tree too.
Oh my god, yes. Replace all those shitty Tormented Spirit nodes.
Here's my one thing. I actually don't want them to be itemized like they are right now. I want you to I maybe still want to have a passive tree to select them, but I want, if the map has Sentinel, I just have a Sentinel.
Yeah, the depth of the league mechanic has to be significantly reduced if they want it to be a core mechanic. It can't be as omnipresent as it is right now, and it can't take as much micromanagement.
They can maybe remove some of the mods, make it better overall, and then just give you a random Sentinel, randomly rolled. Yeah. That would be a cool idea, actually. That's a really cool idea.
I don't want to have to manage those items, there was never any reason for them to be 2x2 to begin with. It's a pain in the ass. It's
really
one
nice
we've
idea.
been willing to put up with because they're so good. But like, just make them when they go core. Hopefully they do. I'm just going to say when they go core, we're going to just huffing copium because I really want them to. But I don't want to deal with the itemized version. So maybe get rid of some of the shit rolls, make them generically a little bit stronger. But then I don't get to control them. The Sentinel exists. And maybe I can still spec into what I want, right? And be like, oh, I would like the red one and the blue one and not the yellow one. And then I'll spec my tree out and do good stuff with it. And then I get given a random Sentinel. That's for the map. And then that'd be fine. That and Recombinators. Recombinators core, please. I still don't have a defense as to why. I just really like them. And that's all I got.
They're fun and cruel. It's perfect for the game.
Yeah. I actually didn't get to chime in too much earlier on the Recombinator topic before we moved on, but I just think it's great that they take so much stuff out of the league, right? Like they burn through so many potentially good items, and they incentivize people to risk those items. That's like, I mean, it always feels like it's worth the risk, even though you're burning currency a lot of times, and it's fun. So that's why they need to stay. Maybe with some restrictions, but definitely in principle, they're a great core addition to Path of Exile because they feel really Path of Exile with the gambling, the mods lighting up and everything coming together. And
they really do.
Yeah, give it to me.
And they also feel kind of different. It's like there's always this making base items, and then there's a step above, and that's like just throwing it into Recombinator. It doesn't feel like applying an essence or applying a fossil. It feels different. It feels like the end step of your item, which I think is really cool. It's like once I did this, we're done, kind of thing.
I'm fine with either. If they remove it, it's fine. If they don't remove it, it's also fine. Like I use the stuff that is giving to me in the league, and whatever GGG decides, I'm not gonna be the one that is going on Reddit and be like, oh, they removed Sentinels because it was too strong, like blah blah blah. I'm pretty passive about that, right? I just really enjoy Path of Exile, the way it's developing as of the past couple leagues with the Atlas tree, with like controlling. And if I like just a pure option that I say, you know what, I just don't like Expedition, I don't like Harvest, I don't like Abyss. Yo, I have the option to just block all of them and I'm going to never see them again. This is something where I say, this is the direction what I really, really enjoy. And I'm also looking forward to the next league, what new additions we're going to get, maybe new Keystones, maybe new Atlas passives, maybe whatever, you know. But I'm not like too focused on the league mechanics, what we're going to have and what we're not going to have. I just take whatever they give me, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like every league mechanic needs to go core, and I think there's too much of a focus on that. I'd much rather have like fun and extremely intense and powerful one-off leagues that don't go core. Like what Balor said earlier, Harvest was a great league, should have just never been seen again after the league. It would have been completely fine. Yep. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're doing. Like, there's also been the rumor or theory that Scourge is going to eventually come back and replace Beyond, simply because, you know, Chris already said in the past that Beyond needs to go because of the way that it's just super old models. But if they just... No, they could rework Beyond in a way that it still is similar to what it is right now, and much less what Scourge was, but at least replace the monsters that are spawning with the Scourge monsters, so we get like a visual update and it feels like a game that was actually made today rather than 10 years ago. The Beyond monsters look terrible. But yeah, we're running out of time. You guys quickly want to give us a short idea of what people can be looking forward if they want to check out your content? mbX, what's the next gamble video, or are you done for the league?
I'm
Only
actually
World
pretty
of
much...
Warcraft.
Yeah, I just killed Mythic Jailer like this week, and I'm super hyped about it. Now we're starting reclears, and I can finally play Feral Druid. So, okay, that's another topic, but overall, like, my content is pretty boring for the most part. I never plan to do anything pre-hat. Like, videos come or videos don't come. That's pretty much my thing. I just hope that people still enjoy my content if I decide to bring something. But as of this league, I think I'm still gonna shoot out this like one character that I'm currently playing, the custom crit character. Maybe like one or two more gambles just to delete some exalts. But that's pretty much it. But I'm still looking forward to the next league. And this time, GGG, please hear my words. Give me new skills. Half a year, not a single new support gem, not a single new skill gem. It's the only thing that I want. I don't care what league mechanic you give me or what power creep. I just want to have new stuff to try out. Okay, so
we want Blade, please.
Yeah, give me
Blade.
Give me just something new. Shape shifting, for example. Yeah,
Blade with Blade support.
Nice.
Like a Blade.
But yeah, if you want to check out Twitch TV/mbXtreme or YouTube or Twitter or I don't have OnlyFans, but yeah, all the other sources just type it /mbXtreme and you will always find me there. So
yeah. Oh
yeah.
I mean, yeah. No.
Wait, what?
No OnlyFans? Secret OnlyFans.
I could show characters without MTX on my OnlyFans, actually.
Sounds good. Palsteron, what can we expect on your YouTube in the next couple of weeks?
I'm making a deck stacker right now, a ballista build, and I'm gonna go all out. So that's gonna be like a lot of exalts, and yeah, we're gonna try to make a cast on death build without dying, basically against bosses, in terms of single target damage. And we're gonna see how it goes. We crafted our items. I had a little bit of our IRL stuff to do in the last few days, so it was kind of halted for a few days. But starting tomorrow, we're going to be blasting, and then we're gonna do 100 feared, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. And you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. Easy.
Yeah, all the links are of course in chat right now, and they will be underneath the video or the podcast on the podcast platforms. Balor, any closing statement? Any SSF journey documentations?
What I'm doing now is a little bit different from my normal content. I don't play solo self-found. I restarted solo self-found a few days ago. I'm playing an off-meta build. I'm playing Death Wish, which meant I had to spend 4 days in Cemetery in tier 4 maps farming my cards up before I could even play the build, which is probably not the way you're supposed to start solo self-found, but I made myself a spreadsheet with like all the possible upgrades that I wanted, where you would get them, what divination cards could give them, where I could farm those, all that sort of stuff. So YouTube's going to be full of my solo self-found journey, trying to figure this stuff out. And I'm not going to lie, I am way out of my depth in solo self-found. I have no idea what I'm doing. My normal answer is buy everything, sell everything else. That's my normal answer to everything. I have like 15 dump tabs for a reason. So I don't know what I'm doing. And we didn't start with a good league start build. We started with an off-meta one that's already doing, as far as I can tell, 13 million DPS in its complete garbage trash tier gear. It's insane, by the way. Death Wish is mental.
I have to check that out.
Death Wish is the Ignite build that everyone should have been league starting for the past 3 leagues. We just didn't know it existed. But it's coming.
Imagine clicking on chromatic orbs. Sorry?
It's probably clunky AF. I'll check out Bella's video to find out whether it's clunky AF. As for myself, I'll probably restart an HCSSF or do some gauntlet practice after I've prioritized getting the podcast for the next couple of weeks together, because tomorrow we're going to have the announcement from Zizaran what the new gauntlet mods are going to be and when gauntlet is going to start. It's very likely going to be the weekend of the 15th of July, so 2 weeks from now, so that there's not that much time left to practice for the actual gauntlet, and we don't know the mods yet. It may be just as merciless as the previous one. Maybe it also is a little bit easier, more accessible to newer players. I'm curious to see the announcement. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. If you missed the beginning of the podcast, check it out in full. It will be premiering tomorrow on YouTube, 9 a.m. GMT and 9:30 GMT, of course. 24 hours after the live broadcast, always the YouTube premiere, and then you can also find it on all the podcast platforms where you basically get your podcasts. A big shout out to all the people who keep subbing to the channel, people who gift subs and subscribe on Patreon and all the goodness. You keep the show running. This is purely supporter finance. I don't have any big sponsors. I don't have anything, so thanks. Prices are going up extremely high, so special thanks again. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. And, of course, thanks to the guests, thanks to Balor, thanks to everyone watching live. next Fated Connections, probably next Saturday. I'll announce it on the Twitter in the next couple of days. And other than that, have a wonderful time gaming and see you for the next one.